So good evening, my dear students. Welcome to the last session for chapter number 11, which is our audit report. So I can see Hitesh, Himanshu, Nilabjo, Annie, Meghna, Siddharth, Ben Reddy have already joined. So Rahul is saying, ma'am, आज report पूरी कर दें. Yes, we will. And students, quickly tell me, जितना भी किया है, read किया है module से and understanding and कुछ लर्निंग क्लियर हुआ है कैसे करना है या समझ आया है what exactly this chapter is all about. Quickly send in your replies. And today we'll be completing essay 705, then very important essays, essay 701 relating to pre-audit matters, 706 emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs, and 710 relating to comparative information. तो बहुत कुछ कवर करना है and as I've already told you in the last session that I have already uploaded the questions, MCQs and descriptive type with respect to this chapter. So if the time will permit, I'll take the queries if you all have gone through the questions, ठीक है, at the end of the session, ठीक है. So let us quickly finish our essay 705. So what is essay 705? It is related to modification. The name is modification to the opinion in the independent auditor's report. So in the last session, I told you that when the auditor is forming a conclusion in terms of essay 700 and he concludes that a modification to the opinion is required, then he'll move on to essay 705. Okay? So it is a brief summary. So when does an auditor give unmodified opinion? When he concludes that financial statements are prepared in all material respect as per applicable financial reporting framework. This is given where in essay 700. Okay? And if he concludes that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Financial statement free from material misstatement. ठीक है? Now ये सब भी कहाँ दिया है essay 700 में, that if the auditor will need to give a modified opinion if he obtains a sufficient appropriate audit evidence that financial statements are not free from material misstatement, or he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that, so this arrow signifies that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Hana? And in the last session, we have seen that qualified, adverse, and disclaimer are the three types of modified opinion. So when the auditor obtains sufficient appropriate audit evidence, Hana, that the financial statements are not free from material misstatement and the effect is material though not pervasive, he'll give a qualified opinion. When he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement and he concludes that the possible effect of such misstatement can be both is material but not pervasive, then again he'll give a qualified opinion. And if you add pervasiveness to these two situations, so where he obtains sufficient appropriate audit evidence that financial statements are not free from material misstatement and the effect is both material and pervasive, the auditor will give an adverse opinion. And where the auditor obtains sufficient is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the financial statement whether financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement or not, and he concludes that the possible effect is both material and pervasive, he'll disclaim that opinion, he'll give disclaimer of opinion. And I hope you all are clear why यहाँ पर possible word है ना, what is meant by pervasive, what is meant by materiality. All this we have done in detail when in the last session we were discussing essay 705, right? So under essay 705, two concepts are left, which we will cover quickly, and then we'll start with essay 701. Okay? Okay? So let me just take you through the module. So what are the circumstances we have seen? Basically, he is not in a position to give unmodified opinion, तो modified देना पड़ेगा, because यहाँ पर क्या है, sufficient appropriate audit evidence मिला है that financial statements are not free from material misstatement, and here unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. यहाँ he has obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence, यहाँ sufficient appropriate audit evidence ही नहीं मिला है. ठीक है? So what is qualified adverse disclaimer, you all know. ठीक है? Pervasiveness हमने कर लिया था. Then which type of opinion is to be given? So it depends upon materiality and pervasiveness. So this table we have done in detail. Consequences ये भी हमने देख लिया था. Now form and content of auditor's report when the opinion is modified. Quickly we will do this topic because this is so logical, है ना, and so simple. देखो यहाँ पर अब क्या है, we have so far understood as to what is meant by qualified opinion, adverse opinion, and disclaimer of opinion, and under what all circumstances such modification will come, है ना. What will auditor do when the management imposes a limitation after the auditor accepts the engagement? This topic also we have covered. ठीक है. Now auditor has decided, ठीक है, he'll be giving an adverse opinion or a qualified opinion or disclaimer of opinion. Now what will be the impact on the form and content of auditor's report? अभी तक जो form and content of auditor's report किया है, that we have done from essay 700, है ना. So since the name of this essay is what, modification in the opinion, to the opinion in the independent auditor report, and we have seen that we will be following the same format as is given in essay 700, है ना. पर अब क्या changes होंगे देखो. So let me just take you through this report. Just a minute. चलो यहाँ पर देखते हैं. Just a minute. So students देखो क्या changes होंगे, बहुत simple है. ये जो हमने practical report पढ़ा था ना, यहाँ से देखते हैं. See यहाँ पर क्या है, auditor's opinion ना. So now when the auditor is giving a qualified or adverse or disclaimer, so यहाँ पर the term opinion will not come. यहाँ पे क्या आएगा, qualified opinion. और अगर adverse है तो adverse opinion, और disclaimer of opinion है तो disclaimer of opinion. Simple, है ना? Because auditor will mention here कि कौन सा type of opinion he is giving, right? This is the first change, है ना? So let us quickly have a look. So when the auditor modifies the audit opinion, the auditor shall use the heading as qualified, adverse, or disclaimer as appropriate for the opinion section. ठीक है? Now students, we have seen that when the auditor is giving an unmodified opinion, तो वो क्या language use करता है? This marked in green, that the financial statement reflected true and fair view in conformity with the accounting principles. ठीक है? And if you remember, I told you that qualified में हमें क्या बोलना है, that इसके अलावा सब कुछ ठीक है, ठीक है. So except for the effect of the matter that is explained in basis of qualified opinion paragraph section. देखो अब जो basis of qualified opinion आएगा ना, वहां पे auditor will be describing as to what is the matter, why is it giving a qualified opinion or adverse opinion or a disclaimer of opinion. Basis for the opinion, क्या base है कि he is giving adverse opinion, qualified opinion or disclaimer. So that is why in the opinion section auditor will write with respect to qualified opinion that except for the effects of the matter described in basis for qualified opinion, the financial statement are prepared in all respects, they give a true and fair view, or they are prepared in all material respects as per the applicable financial reporting framework. So ये B वाला point कहाँ है, जब हम compliance framework की बात करते हैं. So this A point is relating to fair presentation. ठीक है? So except for the effect of the matters, now tell me quickly, यहाँ पर in this case, if the auditor is giving a qualified opinion because he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, तो मुझे बताओ except for the dash effect of the matters, dash में क्या आएगा, except for the dash effect of the matters. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. So when the auditor qualified opinion दो cases में देता है ना, जहां पर sufficient appropriate audit evidence मिल जाता है that the financial statement are not free from material misstatement and material है but pervasive नहीं है, and the second situation when he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to whether the financial statement are free from material misstatement, and he concludes that the possible effect. So Karthik and Bindu have answered correctly. Only 2 correct answers I have received. ठीक है? So possible effect of the matters described in basis for qualified opinion section. So fair presentation में whether they represent true and fair view या ठीक है, and compliance में क्या है, whether they are prepared in all material respects in accordance with the compliance framework. ठीक है? एडवर्स ओपिनियन में क्या बोलना है हमें, बिकॉज सब कुछ खराब है ना, तो यहाँ पर हम क्या बोलेंगे, बिकॉज ऑफ द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द मैटर डिस्क्राइब्ड इन बेसिस ऑफ एडवर्स ओपिनियन सेक्शन the accompanying financial statement do not present or do not give a true and fair view in accordance with the applicable FRF. क्योंकि because the matter that I have explained in basis of adverse opinion section is so significant, the entire financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view. Because वो matter इतना significant है that it is material as well as pervasive. तो ये material as well as pervasive, the auditor is not as such mentioning here in the format, but auditor क्या बोल रहा है, because of the significance of the matter which has been described in basis of adverse opinion section, the accompanying financial statements do not present fairly in all material respect as per the applicable FRF. ठीक है? और compliance में क्या बोलेंगे, that the financial statement are not prepared in all material respect in accordance with the applicable FRF. Clear? तो हमने qualified में क्या किया, except for the matter which has been described in basis of opinion, बाकी सब ठीक है. यहाँ पर हम क्या बोल रहे हैं, क्योंकि जो मैटर गलत है जो बेसिस ऑफ ओपिनियन में हमने एक्सप्लेन किया है, बिकॉज दैट मैटर इज सो सिग्निफिकेंट दैट द एंटायर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट डू नॉट रिफ्लेक्ट अ ट्रू एंड फेयर व्यू. सिंपल. डिस्क्लेमर में हमें क्या बोलना है, देखो डिस्क्लेमर का क्या मतलब है, हम व्हाट वी आर सेइंग, सी disclaimer of opinion happens when the auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So when the auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, he is unable to give an opinion, है ना. डिस्क्लेम तभी तो करते हैं ना कि मुझे नहीं पता, तो he is not giving any opinion. ठीक है? So when the auditor disclaims an opinion due to inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, the auditor shall see, very very important, state that the auditor does not express the opinion on the accompanying financial statements. State that we do not express the opinion. ठीक है? Then क्लियर है, ओपिनियन तो एक्सप्रेस कर ही नहीं रहे हैं ना, बिकॉज वी आर अनेबल, सी व्हेन वी आर अनेबल टू ऑब्टेन सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस, देन हाउ कैन वी गिव एन ओपिनियन, बिकॉज आवर ओपिनियन विल बी बेस्ड ऑन सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस. ठीक है? State that because of the significance of the matters described in basis for disclaimer of opinion section, the auditor has not been able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to provide a base for an audit of opinion on the financial statement. तो हम बताएंगे ना कि basis of opinion section में हमने बताया कि what is the matter, कि with respect to what aspect we are not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, and it is so significant that we are not able to give our opinion. And last, amend the statement required by SC 700 which indicates that the financial statement have been audited. तो देखो, let us have a look at this statement. If you remember in the opinion section, यहाँ पर हम क्या लिखते हैं? So we start with we have audited. हम लिखते हैं ना, this marked in, what is this color, red. We have audited. Now in case of disclaimer of opinion, the auditor will not start the opinion section with we have audited, but auditor will mention that we were engaged to audit, कि हमें audit करने का काम दिया गया था, but we were not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, इसलिए हम audit नहीं कर पाए, हम opinion नहीं दे पाए. ठीक है? So the language will be what, we were engaged to audit. ठीक है? So see, amend the statement required by SC 700 which indicates that financial statement have been audited. तो ये कौन सा, कहाँ पर होता है? Opinion paragraph का first line होता है introduction में. To state that the auditor was engaged to audit the financial statement. So here the auditor will be mentioning that we were engaged, हमें काम दिया गया था, है ना. ऑडिट तो नहीं कर पाए ना, बिकॉज वी वर अनेबल टू ऑब्टेन सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस, मतलब वी वर अनेबल टू अप्लाई द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स ना फर्दर. क्लियर है? ठीक है? इज इट क्लियर? Hiral, your doubt is not clear. Please send it again. And Aditi, I cannot repeat the meaning of pervasive access in detail, but pervasive का मतलब क्या होता है? Which is having an effect on the financial statement as a whole. ऐसा नहीं है एक ही assertion को effect कर रहा है, but पूरा financial statement पे अगर impact है तो वो क्या होता है? Pervasive. The Hindi word is what? सर्वत्र. Is it having the effect or positive effect on the financial statement as a whole? एक सिंपल सा एग्जांपल, अगर आपने फॉरेन, इफ यू हैव कंसोलिडेटेड अ फॉरेन सब्सिडरी डेटा इनटू द होल्डिंग कंपनी, ठीक है, एंड यू हैव यूज्ड द रॉन्ग फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रेट, अब देखो पूरा ही फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट गलत आ गया ना, द एंटायर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट इज बीन इंपैक्टेड, परवेसिव इफेक्ट है इसका, ठीक है, क्लियर है? इज इट क्लियर? Only one opinion is given in one report, Karthik. ठीक है, see, disclaimer of opinion, Shri Ram, disclaimer means I disclaim this opinion, I am not giving any opinion. Disclaimer of opinion means I'm not giving any opinion. The dictionary meaning of disclaimer is what? To say that you do not know something or you do not take responsibility for, है ना? Since the auditor is not able to obtain sufficient or appropriate audit evidence, so auditor is not able to conduct the audit in an effective and efficient manner, so it's saying that I am not able to give an opinion, मैं opinion दे ही नहीं रहा हूँ, ठीक है? Shri Ram, is it clear? So students, wait, your doubt will be clear. Hiral, wait, देखो, let us have a look at an opinion section of qualified report, opinion, qualified opinion, ठीक है? So देखो, unmodified ऐसे 700 में हमने क्या देखा था? In the opinion section, introduction आता है, 5 points आते हैं, वो pyramid किया था ना, 5 points, and then that the financial statement reflected true and fair view, ऐसे आता है, clear? Now with respect to qualified, so this is SS 705, वहीं पर there are a number of illustrative audit reports which are given. I am discussing those with you, ठीक है? So now the auditor of ABC company is giving what? A qualified opinion. Hiral, this will solve your doubt, ठीक है? So first paragraph of opinion section will be what? An introduction that we have audited, audit तो किया है ना qualified और adverse में, तभी तो sufficient appropriate audit evidence you have obtained, then only you are able to give an opinion. तो यहाँ पर तो क्या आएगा? We have audited the standalone financial statement, mention the company name, mention all the financial statement, mention that notes to accounts including summary of significant accounting policies और ये सब भी audit किया, and mention that you have audited. These were the 5 points, right? And next is what? The opinion. ठीक है? So what is the opinion? So the language that will be used, and this is a standard language which has been given by SS 705. So all the auditors who are conducting audit in accordance with standards on auditing follow this format only. So in our opinion and to the best of our information, ठीक है, and according to the explanation, except for the effects of the matters described in basis of qualified opinion section, the aforesaid financial statement give a true and fair view as per the accounting principles generally accepted in India. ठीक है? तो हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? देखो, qualified का क्या मतलब होता है? जब आप unmodified opinion दे रहे हो ना, आप एक condition put कर देते हो, ठीक है? और वो condition, that condition is not so pervasive, it is not affecting the entire financial statement so as to require the auditor to give an adverse opinion, है ना? Unmodified दे नहीं सकता है because material misstatement है, and it is not so pervasive that there is a need to give an adverse opinion, so auditor gives a qualified opinion. तो qualified opinion का क्या है? एक condition put कर दिया, right? So how will the auditor say? He will say that, see, first of all, also have a look at this basis of opinion, qualified opinion, ठीक है? यहाँ पर auditor ने क्या किया? He has explained the matter that during the year, so the matter which is mentioned here, which has which has resulted in a qualified opinion is what? That the company has not valued the inventory at lower of cost or NRV. ठीक है? So which is not as per AS2, है ना? So it is what? Material. But according to auditor, since the inventory does not constitute a major chunk of total asset, so it is not pervasive, right? So it is not pervasive, though it is material. So auditor has decided to give what? A qualified opinion. So this matter auditor has explained in basis for qualified opinion section. यहाँ पर auditor has given a description of the matter which has required for a qualified opinion. In the basis of qualified opinion section, you all have done in SA 700 that auditor needs to give 4 other things: that we have conducted the audit in accordance with SAs, our responsibilities are also mentioned, we are independent, ethical requirements have been met, and that we have obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So ye sab to auditor will give because it is given in 700 SA ka format. But when the auditor is giving a qualified adverse or disclaimer of opinion, and the matter which has given which because of which the auditor is giving a qualification, like he is giving a qualified opinion, he is giving a modification, that matter will also be explained in basis for qualified opinion section. ठीक है? So basis for qualified opinion में auditor has explained the matter, and opinion में क्या बोल रहा है? That the matter which is explained in the basis of opinion paragraph ना, except for that the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. So a condition is put that except for the matter which is explained in basis for opinion section, the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. है ना? Qualified का मतलब यही तो था ना कि इसको छोड़ के बाकी सब ठीक है. ठीक है? So except for the matter which is explained where in basis of opinion section, the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. Except का मतलब क्या होता है? इसके अलावा. Hiral, is it clear now? इसके अलावा. ठीक है? Clear? Now this was what? My qualified opinion, and you have seen कि basis for opinion में 4 points तो आएंगे ही जो ऐसे 700 में थे, but now a description of the matter that has resulted in auditor giving a qualified opinion, that matter will also come. तो यहाँ पर देखो ना auditor ने mention किया है ना, because NRV और cost whichever is lower पे नहीं किया, so that means accounting standards को follow नहीं किया. This is material, है ना? So that is why देखो कहाँ पर है. So see, the company's inventory are carried in balance sheet has not been stated at lower of cost or net realizable value, which constitutes a departure from accounting standards prescribed under section 133. अगर company ने ठीक किया होता तो ऐसा होता, अभी ऐसा है. So auditor has mentioned all that. ठीक है? Clear? Now let us have a look at the adverse opinion. तो देखो adverse opinion में again opinion section क्या हो जाएगा? Adverse opinion रहेगा तो सेम ही, that we have audited consolidated financial statement names देंगे, सारे financial statements देंगे, everything will come. But यहाँ पर अब हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? अब देखो basis for adverse opinion. Basis for adverse opinion. अब यहाँ पर क्या है? What is the matter here? I'll quickly brief it to you. That there is a subsidiary of the group company, and we are giving a report on the group company's financial statement, and the company has not consolidated the financials of the subsidiary in the way as is required by applicable FRS. ठीक है? Now अब consolidation ठीक नहीं हुआ है, so this is a misstatement which is material, and student it is pervasive also ना, because पूरे financial statements पर impact है ना, वहां पर तो सिर्फ inventory पे impact था ना. So auditor has described this matter. See, the effects on the consolidated financial statement of the failure to consolidate have not been determined. So auditor is saying that had XYZ company been consolidated, many elements in accompanying consolidated financial statement would have been materially affected. So it is material as well as pervasive. तो यहाँ पर auditor ने क्या किया? Matter explain कर दिया in the basis for adverse opinion section, and below that वही same section है, 4 बातें, that SS के according हुआ है, auditor responsibility ये है, हम independent थे, ethical requirements हो गई थी, and हमने auditor evidence obtain कर लिया है. Clear? Now the language that is used in the adverse opinion section, वो क्या आएगा, देखो क्या आता है, because of the significance of the matter explained in matter discussed in the basis of adverse opinion section, the accompanying financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view. That because the matter is so significant, which matter, which I have discussed in the basis of adverse opinion section, the financial statement as a whole do not reflect a true and fair view. सब कुछ गड़बड़ है, ठीक है, ओपिनियन दे रहे हैं, सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस मिल गया है, ठीक है, एंड द मैटर इज मटीरियल, द मिसस्टेटमेंट इज मटीरियल एंड परवेसिव. तो where will the auditor describe that matter? In the basis for adverse opinion section, and the opinion that he'll give, the language, the standard language that is used all across is what? Because of the significance of the matter discussed in basis of adverse opinion section. जो मैंने basis of adverse opinion section में matter discuss किया है ना, वो इतना significant है ना, that the entire financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view. Is it clear? Is it clear? Now let us have a look at the module, है ना? So I hope this is clear. Now what will be the changes in basis for opinion section? Opinion section का qualified और adverse के लिए clear है, disclaimer के लिए we will do it later on, ठीक है? Now basis for opinion में first and foremost the heading will change. वहां पर we were mentioning SS 700 में basis for opinion, here will be mentioning basis for qualified opinion, basis for adverse opinion, basis for disclaimer of opinion. See students, when we started with SS 700 ना, हमने क्या बोला था, that the titles that are being used, it enhances the user's understanding, value of the audit report, it enhances by following this format. Now when a user uses he reads the audit report, at first instance he is able to know ना कि अच्छा adverse opinion दिया है. Why? Because the opinion section will now have the heading adverse opinion, है ना, समझ आ रहा है, ठीक है? And within the section include a description of the matter giving rise to modification. तो अभी पढ़ा ना, that basis for opinion में अब पहला section क्या आ जाएगा, what is the matter जिसकी वजह से modification is coming. Clear? Now with respect to basis of opinion, certain very logical matters, points we need to consider. देखो, all these points, I'll quickly summarize all these points. ये क्या बोलता है, देखो. When the auditor is giving a qualified adverse or disclaimer of opinion, he needs to give a description of the matter in the basis of whatever is the opinion, qualified adverse or disclaimer of opinion section. Basis of opinion, qualified adverse or disclaimer में कुछ क्या देना है, description. Now with respect to that description, कि वो description कैसे देना, उसके लिए ये points हैं, क्या है, simple है, देखो, it says that if that misstatement relates to a particular amount, है ना, or a disclosure of a particular amount, that इतना amount का disclosure नहीं किया है, ठीक है, that a litigation is pending with respect to what 1 crore contingent liability can be there or provision should be created, तो amount can be quantified, आप calculate कर सकते हो. So it says that in the basis of opinion section mention that amount also. ठीक है, सिंपल है, that whatever is the impact, financial impact on the financial statement, basis of opinion में वो amount को quantify करके mention कर दो. The auditor needs to do that. Simple. In the second point, it says if it is not practicable, if you are not able to quantify the financial impact, mention this fact in the basis of opinion section. वो भी mention कर दो that we are not able to quantify it. है ना, let's say कोई litigation है with respect to which the company might lose the case and there may be a outflow of in way of what compensation or whatever, but that amount cannot be calculated as such. So mention that quantification of the financial effect is not possible. Simple. Then it says that if the misstatement relates to a narrative disclosure, narrative is which is not involving a quantity, narration, narrative, like आपको लिखना था that contingent liability है ना, तो narrative है, वहां पे quantity let's say नहीं है, then the auditor needs to mention in the basis for opinion as to how that disclosure is misstated, कि क्या गलती है उस disclosure में if a company has made a wrong disclosure. Clear? Further it says that if there is non-disclosure, company ने कुछ disclose किया ही नहीं है, and according to the auditor the same needs to be disclosed, and because of that the auditor is giving a modified opinion. नॉन डिस्क्लोजर है, तो बेसिस फॉर ओपिनियन सेक्शन में इट सेज दैट ऑडिटर discuss the first of all discuss that non-disclosure with those charged with governance, that those charged with governance, listen, this is the disclosure which was required, which has not been given in the financial statement. Then describe in the basis of opinion section the nature of omitted information, describe karo. And third point, it says if the law permits, mention such kind of disclosure in your basis of opinion section जो omit कर दिया है, which the company has not shown. Clear? Simple है. Further, it says that if you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, मतलब qualified या disclaimer की बात हो रही है यहाँ पर, the auditor shall include in basis for opinion section the reasons for inability. Let's say the auditor is not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to inventory verification. So what is the reason? It is in some place where the audit and his team cannot go, or what is the reason? ठीक है? ठीक है? And further it says that you need to add the word qualified and adverse where before opinion wherever in the report you are using these words. Like opinion से पहले क्या आ जाएगा? Qualified opinion या adverse opinion. Clear? Is it clear? Now with respect to disclaimer of opinion, disclaim करना मतलब क्या होता है? I'm not giving any opinion. ठीक है? Here it says that when the auditor is disclaiming an opinion, auditor is not giving an opinion. Students, listen to me very carefully. देखो यहाँ पर हम क्या कह रहे हैं? When the auditor is disclaiming an opinion, he is not giving an opinion, है ना? वहां पर auditor will not make a reference to the auditor's responsibility. जो हमने पढ़ा था ना, auditor shall state, auditor shall further state, auditor shall also state. Remember the three sections auditor responsibility ka. So auditor will not refer to that. Further, auditor will also not give the statement that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained. अब बताओ ये कहाँ लिखते थे आप that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained? So if you remember, basis of opinion section में last में हम ये line लिखते थे ना, देखो ये वाला line. We believe, which I have marked as fourth, we believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate for the basis of our opinion. तो अब यहाँ पर तो disclaimer of opinion है, unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence है. Now auditor will not mention this. है ना? Disclaimer of opinion में auditor will not mention that he has received. Further, auditor will not mention that we have audited. यहाँ पर auditor क्या mention करेगा? That we were engaged to audit. And it also says that auditor will not give reference to all these auditors' responsibility. ये वाले रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी नहीं लिखना है. तो ऐसे 70 से पूछते हैं, 705 से फिर कौन से रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज लिखने हैं? तो बहुत सिंपल है. ऑडिटर को सिंपली क्या लिखना है? ऑडिटर को सिंपली लिखना है दैट, अब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज डिस्क्लेमर ऑफ ओपिनियन में डिफरेंट है. व्हाट आर दीज? दैट a statement that auditor's responsibility is to conduct the audit in accordance with SA and to issue an audit report. That this was our responsibility. A statement that, however, because of the matters described in basis of disclaimer of opinion section, the auditor was not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to provide a basis for an audit of opinion of financial statement, and that the statement about auditor independence and ethical responsibility. तो ये तो you will mention कि audit essays के according हुआ था. And this also you will mention that we are independent and ethical requirement को हम meet कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? But apart from that, you will only mention that because of the matters described in basis of disclaimer of opinion section, we are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Is it clear? है ना? तो auditor responsibility का वो तीनों sections now will not come. Clear? And further it says that when the auditor is disclaiming an opinion, he will not give key audit matters, which I will take up when we will do SA 701. Okay? And this next section we have already discussed that communication with those charged with governance is necessary. So when the auditor is is modifying the opinion, qualified adverse disclaimer, कुछ भी opinion दे रहे हैं, देखो कंपनी के बारे में कुछ कहना चाह रहे हो तो those charged with governance से डिस्कस करोगे ना, that listen, those charged with governance, these are the circumstances because of which we are giving a modified opinion, and this is the kind of modification, this is the wording that you are going to use in the financial state in the auditor report. You will discuss that with those charged with governance before giving your auditor's opinion. Okay, is it clear? Let me just quickly have a look at your queries. Then I'll give just 5 minutes more to essay 705 to just bring it together and revise it. And then we'll start with essay 701. Let me just have a look at your query and send in your reply. Samajh aaya ya nahi? Yes, Sriram, you're करेक्ट. अनमॉडिफाइड का मतलब ही क्या है कि ऑडिटर को क्या ऑडिट एविडेंस मिला है, दैट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट आर फ्री फ्रॉम मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट. कोई भी मिसस्टेटमेंट के लिए ऑडिट एविडेंस नहीं मिला है. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. तो a quick revision and then we will start with essay 701. Students, I really need your answers, your replies to know whether you have understood or not. Essay 700 and 705 पे we have spent last 2 sessions because these are very important. एक base clear हो गया ना, उसके बाद ऐसे 701, 706 बहुत easily हो जाएंगे. तो देखो 705, what is the name? Modifications to the opinion in the independent auditor's report, है ना? So when the auditor is concluding in terms of essay 700 and he concludes that a modification in the opinion is required, he will give a modified opinion in terms of essay 705. Now, what are the circumstances that give rise to modification? When, based on the audit evidence, sufficient appropriate audit evidence, the auditor concludes that the financial statements are not free from material misstatement, or when he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to conclude whether financial statements are free from material misstatement. So what is the objective in terms of essay 705? To give an appropriately modified opinion. What can be the types of opinion? Qualified, adverse or disclaimer. It depends upon whether the misstatement is material and pervasive. Material का क्या मतलब है? In terms of essay 320, materiality in planning and performing an audit. Materiality, material क्या होता है? As per FRF, if it is defined, and if it is not, then the misstatement that if has an effect on the economic decisions of the users of the financial statement. And what is meant by pervasive? For all those who were asking me to repeat the concept of pervasiveness. So basically, pervasiveness, it depends upon auditor's professional judgment as to whether a misstatement is pervasive or not. So when will a misstatement be pervasive? When it is not confined to specific elements. जैसे सिर्फ इन्वेंट्री से रिलेटेड था ना हमारा क्वालिफाइड ओपिनियन वाला एग्जांपल कि इन्वेंट्री वैल्यूएशन गलत है. ठीक है, एंड इफ इट इज, अच्छा देखो इन्वेंट्री वैल्यूएशन वाला था तो इट इज कन्फाइंड टू स्पेसिफिक एलिमेंट. सो सेकंड पॉइंट क्या होता है परवेसिव का? इफ इट इज सो कन्फाइंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूट सब्सटैंशियल पोर्शन ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. नाउ इफ माय इन्वेंट्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूट्स 80% ऑफ द टोटल एसेट्स, फिर तो वो परवेसिव हो गया ना, बिकॉज इट कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ सब्सटैंशियल पोर्शन ऑफ द टोटल एसेट्स. इन्वेंट्री ही 80% है. Clear? Then the disclosure, it will be pervasive. It is this, if it is what fundamental to the user's understanding of the financial statement. Going concern का कोई disclosure है, fundamental to the user's understanding ना, based on that only the shareholders are going to decide whether to invest more, hold or sell of their shares, है ना. So this is what pervasive. Now qualified कब देना है? जब sufficient appropriate audit evidence मिला है that misstatement material है but pervasive नहीं है, या unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that misstatement, so possible effect of misstatement is what? Material but not pervasive, qualified. इन दोनों में अगर you add pervasiveness तो adverse and disclaimer. Is it clear? So quickly, let us just discuss 1 or 2 examples. So see, if the bifurcation of loans is not given with respect to long term and short term, so though this is what the company has not complied with the provision of Companies Act, so this is material, but it is not impacting my financial statement as a whole. So this is not what? Pervasive. So qualified opinion may go. Okay? Let's take another example. Let's say the inventory and debtors are not realizable. है ना, and they constitute 80% or 90% of the total asset, and such fact is not mentioned in the financial statement. तो मटेरियल तो है, परवेसिव भी है, because it constitute a substantial portion of the financial statement. तो adverse opinion. Disclaimer का हम क्या example ले सकते हैं? Suppose a new system of accounting is in place and the reports, it is still in transition period, and correct reports, correct accounting is not being done by the staff, and the employees and management is also not providing any support to the auditor. So auditor is not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So auditor will give what? देखो, disclaimer of opinion देगा. अब qualified तो दे नहीं सकता, material pervasive दोनों है, एडवर्स भी नहीं दे सकता because sufficient appropriate audit evidence तो मिला ही नहीं है. तो auditor will what? Disclaim an opinion that he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, but the possible effect is what? It is material as well as pervasive. So is it clear? So with this we have covered SA 700 and 705 in entirety. So students quickly tell me clear है या नहीं? ठीक है? Quickly send in your replies, and then we will start with SA 701. So abhi I am not doing SA 706. After 701 I'll take you through SA 706. So abhi we will do what? SA 701. ठीक है? Send in your replies. So I have made the summaries for the 3 essays. Sorry. Nisar, your voice is not clear. Achha. So students, can you view this word file SA 701? ठीक है. So now let us start with SA 701, communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. ठीक है. So again, this is referring to what? The independent auditor's report. And students, if you remember, when we did the format of audit report as per SA 700, वहां पर there was an element which is what? Key audit matter. Let me just show it to you in the module. So key audit matter. This one, है ना? Key audit matter. ठीक है? Now we are discussing about this. ठीक है? So there is a responsibility on the auditor to report on certain key audit matters, and SA 700 has itself given in the format that यहाँ पर there is a requirement to give the key audit matter. ठीक है? So first of all, let us see what is meant by key. Key, K-E-Y. Quickly send in your replies. Key audit matters. I'm waiting for your replies. Quickly send your replies, students. Nilabjo, Viral, Meghna, Gehani, Himanshu, Kartik, Aditi. Please send. Bindu. So, zaruri, महत्वपूर्ण, important. So I can say most significant. बहुत जरूरी. ठीक है? So communicating key audit आपको पता है, matters भी you can understand. तो key का क्या मतलब है? Most significant. बहुत जरूरी matters in the independent auditor's report, and independent auditor report का format आपको 700 में ही given है, whereby key audit matters का separate element है. ठीक है? Now students, During the course of audit, if you remember in the last two sessions, I have discussed a little about SA 260 with you, communicating with those charged with governance. So, out of the matters which the auditor has communicated to those charged with governance, the matters that auditor feels are most significant, and he feels that I need to mention those matters in my audit report, such matter will become what? Key audit matter. Okay? So during the course of audit, auditor discusses various significant findings, various other matters with what? Those charged with governance. Out of those matters, the matters which in the auditor's professional judgment are of most significance, he can show those matters as key audit matters in his audit report. And when the auditor is doing this, he needs to refer to SA 701. Okay? Now, with respect to what all companies, such key audit matter section is mandatory. So with respect to listed companies, listed entities, the key audit matter paragraph section should come in the auditor's report. Further, if it is required by law and regulation, the auditor needs to give information in key audit matter section. For example, public interest entities. Further, even if it is not a listed entity, even if it is not required, but the auditor decides to communicate the key audit matters. For example, if there are large number of stakeholders, like your financial institution, banks, insurance companies, charitable institutions. So, and the auditor feels that out of the matter which he has communicated with those charged with governance, such matters which are of most significance, these needs to be told to the users of the auditor report, so he can mention those matters in as key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. Okay? So देखो, I'll ask you a number of questions in this, so be with me and listen to me attentively. तो अभी तक हमने क्या बोला? की क्या होता है? Most significant, है ना? And 701 में जाना है. Requirement किसके लिए है? Listed के लिए mandatory है. And you will see, even in case of listed entities, even if there is no key audit matter, such fact is also to be mentioned that there is no key audit matter. If it is required by law regulation, example, public interest entities, and auditor may also decide to communicate key audit matter if in his professional judgment it is required. Like listed entity नहीं है, required by law regulation नहीं है, फिर भी auditor को लगता है कि नहीं भाई बहुत सारे stakeholders है, charitable institutions हैं, insurance है, I need to mention it, he may mention it. Clear? ठीक है? Now, what is the objective of SA 701? So first of all, SA 701 deals with auditor's responsibility to communicate key audit matter in auditor report. Okay? And this essay addresses as to the auditor's judgment regarding what to communicate. So first of all, this essay guides the auditor as to what is a key audit matter. And then once he has decided what is key audit matter, the form and content of such communication as to how to communicate. So what is key audit matter and how to communicate that key audit matter. Okay? So what is the objective? To determine the key audit matter and then to communicate key audit matter in the audit report. Simple hai? Now, the definition of key audit matter. So it is those matters, key audit matters are those matters which in the auditor's professional judgment are most significant, बहुत जरूरी in the audit of financial statement of current period. कि during the audit of financial year of the current period, auditor came across a number of matters. Okay? Let's say 20 matters auditor came across, which he discussed with those charged with governance. Out of these, let's say 4 matters auditor think are of most significance that users of financial statement should also know. So he can mention them in what? Key audit matter. And it pertains to what? Current period audit. Okay? And these are selected from matters communicated with those charged with governance as in terms of SA 216. ठीक है। तो जो मैटर्स 260 में आपने दो चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस से किए, सपोज 20 मैटर्स है, उसमें से 4 मैटर्स जो आपको लगता है ना मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट है, दैट विल बी की ऑडिट मैटर्स। हीरल, आई होप योर डाउट इज क्लियर नाउ, ठीक है। Now, what is the purpose? See, during the course of audit, let's say, let's try to understand this purpose with the help of example. So, if you remember, you all have done essay 315, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. So, when the auditor assesses the risk of material misstatement in terms of essay 315, he comes across various areas where the assessed risk of material misstatement is high, ठीक है. He comes across various significant risk, है ना. For example, let's say related party transactions, a number of related party transactions are there in the organization, right? Or let's say revenue recognition with respect to a particular company. So with respect to those matters where the auditor has applied his professional judgment, है ना, जहां पर ऑडिटर को लगता है that his significant time was involved, management significant time was involved. Let's say with respect to a particular provision, management has made has given a management judgment and it has made what, a provision. Now, some experts have been involved. The auditor has also involved his expert. So lot of efforts are involved na. So ऑडिटर विल टेल द यूजर्स ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट कि देखो ये वाला ऑडिट ना मैंने ऐसे किया था, विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस पर्टिकुलर मैटर ना मैनेजमेंट ने ये किया और मैंने ये किया, ठीक है, ठीक है. तो इट विल एनहांस द कम्युनिकेटिव वैल्यू ऑफ ऑडिट रिपोर्ट, है ना. एक एडिशनल मैटर आपने लिख दिया कि रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन था ना, उस पर मैनेजमेंट ने ये किया और मैंने ये किया. बस ये मैं आपको इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहा हूँ बिकॉज मेरे को लगता है यूजर्स ये ना बहुत ये मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट था मेरे ऑडिट में कि जब व्हेन आई कंडक्टेड द ऑडिट, थ्रू आउट द ऑडिट ना, ये 4-5 बातें थी जो आई डिस्कस विद दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस, और ये आपको भी पता होनी चाहिए. तो की ऑडिट मैटर्स, ठीक है. ग्रेटर ट्रांसपेरेंसी, है ना, सब कुछ आप मेंशन कर रहे हो ना, मैनेजमेंट ने क्या किया, ऑडिटर ने क्या किया. एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन टू द इंटेंडेड यूजर्स, it will assist the users to understand the entity and significant management judgment. For example, with respect to a particular litigation, it has been shown as contingent liability and provision has not been shown, which is appropriately done, है ना. Auditor discussed the same with those charged with governance कि देखो ऐसे ऐसे हुआ है, फिर उन्होंने ऐसा बोला, फिर उन्होंने ऐसा बोला, दैट्स इट. उसने बस नॉर्मल डिस्कस किया दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस से. Now, when the auditor has finalized his report, he thinks that, यार, according to my professional judgment ना, ये वाला मैटर ना यूजर्स को भी पता होना चाहिए because it is most significant. मेरा बहुत सारा एफर्ट लगा है इस पे throughout the audit. Auditor will mention it as what, key audit matter, है ना. तो यूजर्स को एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द एंटिटी मिलेगा ना, सिग्निफिकेंट मैनेजमेंट जजमेंट का मिलेगा ना, एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन मिलेगा ना, ग्रेटर ट्रांसपेरेंसी होएगा ना, और कम्युनिकेटिव वैल्यू भी बढ़ जाएगा. क्लियर. अब मेरे को एक बात बताओ क्विकली, when I'm telling you that out of the 20 matters, 4 matters मेरे को लगता है significant है, तो have I told you that auditor is modifying his opinion here? नहीं. ये तो क्या हुआ है, that auditor has done the audit, he has concluded, he has formed his opinion, ठीक है. Now when he is writing his report, according to his professional judgment, he feels that देखो during the audit ना, when he was going through his audit documentation कि अच्छा ये वाला मैटर मैंने दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस से डिस्कस किया था, अच्छा ये भी मैटर डिस्कस किया था, out of these matters ना, let me just inform the users about these 4 matters also, है ना. एक एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन दे देते हैं, ठीक है. और ये रिक्वायरमेंट कहाँ है, एसए 700 में. तो देखो ओपिनियन तो ओपिनियन सेक्शन में चला गया ना, basis has gone in the basis of opinion section. So is this matter to do anything with the opinion section? No, it is a separate section. So this matter is not any modification to the report. ये तो एक additional information दे रहे हो ना आप, modification थोड़ी ना है. Audit हो गया, having formed an opinion, if auditor feels according to his professional judgment that this matter should be communicated to users, auditor may you do that. How? By mentioning it in the key audit matter paragraph, ठीक है. And further देखो objective भी क्या है इसका, having formed an opinion, auditor may communicate key audit matter in audit report. कि opinion जो बनना था वो तो बन गया है, उसके बाद ऑडिटर को लगता है कि देखो ये मैटर ना यूजर्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स को पता होना चाहिए, तो मैं बता देता हूँ बिकॉज इसमें मेरा सिग्निफिकेंट टाइम लगा है, सिग्निफिकेंट एफर्ट्स लगे हैं, मैनेजमेंट सिग्निफिकेंट जजमेंट लगा है. सो आई नीड टू टेल दिस एंड दीज आर द मैटर्स आउट ऑफ व्हाट मैटर्स कम्युनिकेटेड टू दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस. सो इट हैज नथिंग टू डू विद व्हाट एनी मॉडिफिकेशन, बिकॉज ओपिनियन में चला गया, वो बेसिस ऑफ ओपिनियन में चला गया. ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अपनी जगह है, ये तो एक अलग से सेक्शन है ना इन द ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट. की ऑडिट मैटर्स है ना, हमने देखा ना, वन ऑफ द एलिमेंट्स ऑफ की ऑडिट ऑफ द इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट है. क्लियर? ठीक है, ठीक है. नाउ I told you what are the two objectives: to determine key audit matter and to communicate. Now the next topic, how to determine. तो पहले तो आपको पता है from the matters discussed with those charged with governance. तो देखो मैंने आपको क्या बोला, those charged with governance से now management has concluded, he has formed his opinion, and when he's finally signing the report, he was going through the documentation, and he saw that okay, these were the 20 matters which I communicated with those charged with governance, and according to my professional judgment, these 4 matters are of most significance. है ना, ये मैटर्स ना यूजर्स को बता देते हैं कैसे, बाय मेंशनिंग देम एज की ऑडिट मैटर्स, most significant audit matters, those that were discussed with your those charged with governance. ठीक है, so these are selected from the matters discussed with those charged with governance that required significant auditor attention. Let's take an example. कोई litigation था, I am repeating this example, है ना, जिसके लिए प्रोविजन देखना था या contingent liability, तो मैनेजमेंट ने एक लीगल एक्सपर्ट हायर किया. इन ऑर्डर टू वेरीफाई इट, ऑडिटर ने अपना एक एक्सपर्ट हायर किया, एंड फिर ऑडिटर ने अपना प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट लगाया. तो देखो कितना सारा टाइम और वो लगा ना, जजमेंट मैनेजमेंट का भी ऑडिटर का भी. तो सिग्निफिकेंट ऑडिटर अटेंशन गया ना इधर. सो ऑडिटर वांट्स टू टेल दिस टू द यूजर्स. ठीक है, बता दो की ऑडिट मैटर से, एंड इट इज मैंडेटरी इन केस ऑफ अ लिस्टेड कंपनी. ठीक है. Now when the auditor is determining that, अब ये देखो इन 20 में से कौन से 4 लेने हैं matters, तो उसके लिए auditor shall take into account these 4 points, these 3 points. What are these? So auditor shall take into consideration first of all तो those charged with governance वाले matters में से होना चाहिए, and which has called for auditor's significant attention. ठीक है, and in order to determine key audit matters, auditor shall take into account various points like areas of higher risk, higher assessed risk of material misstatement and significant risk, है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शंस में आपको सिग्निफिकेंट रिस्क होता है ना, समटाइम्स रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन में भी तो रिस्क होता है ना. सो द मैटर्स हाउ द मैनेजमेंट डेल्ट इन, like what is the internal control of the auditor of the management of the company with respect to related party, what audit procedures auditor did with respect to such areas, auditor will mention. Significant auditor judgment and management judgment, है ना. I told you कि कोई litigation है, management का कितना judgment उसमें involve है, auditor का कितना judgment involve है. If any matter is like that, that will also become what? Key audit matter. Effect of significant event or transaction during the period. If any significant event or transaction has occurred during the period, है ना, and auditor has discussed the same with those charged with governance, auditor can inform the users of the financial statement of his audit report through a key audit matter. Clear? ठीक है. अब देखो what all auditor reports. ठीक है, तो अब ये कम्युनिकेटिंग, यहाँ पर हमने क्या देखा था, डिटरमाइनिंग. डिटरमाइन कैसे करना है, दोस चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस से मैटर जिसने सिग्निफिकेंट ऑडिटर्स अटेंशन ड्रॉ किया, एंड ऑडिटर शैल टेक इनटू अकाउंट व्हाट एरियाज ऑफ हायर assessed risk of material misstatement and significant risk, significant auditor's judgment which involved significant management judgment. ठीक है, the effect of significant events and transactions during the period under audit. Clear है. Now communicate कैसे करना है. ठीक है, I'll take you through the entire module, then only I'll look at your queries. Communicate कैसे करना है, and I'll also ask you to please concentrate on the screen. उसके बाद I'll give you a time to send in your queries. अब कम्युनिकेट कैसे करना है, सेपरेट हेडिंग है की ऑडिट मैटर्स, ये आपको पता है. तो देखो कैसे आएगा, एक हेडिंग आएगा की ऑडिट मैटर्स. अब आई टोल्ड यू आउट ऑफ 20 लेट्स से 4 मैटर्स हैं, तो ऑडिटर कैसे करेगा, पहला मैटर लेट्स से रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन, देन ऑडिटर विल मेंशन व्हाट ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स ऑडिटर परफॉर्म, यहाँ पर सारा लिख देंगे इससे रिलेटेड एंड इससे रिलेटेड. सेकंड मैटर let's say deferred tax asset का कुछ है, what audit procedures auditor performed and why is this matter considered as what key audit matter. ठीक है. Now students, so basically what I'm saying, एक तो main heading आएगी key audit matter की, and then sub headings of revenue recognition or deferred tax asset or whatever matter auditor has considered as what key audit matter. ठीक है. Then this essay says, see, this essay is of recent origin, है ना? So this essay specifically says that auditor, when you are giving a key audit matter ना, उससे पहले ना एक introduction दे देना that what is key audit matter, because it might be possible users को ना पता हो ना, तो just define what is key audit matters and mention there specifically that you are not providing a separate opinion on this matters. इसके ऊपर सेपरेट ओपिनियन तो नहीं है ना, बिकॉज ऑब्जेक्टिव भी क्या है, हैविंग फॉर्म्ड एन ओपिनियन, ओपिनियन तो पहले बन गया ना, उसके बाद ऑडिटर को लगता है कि ये बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट है, यूजर्स को भी पता होना चाहिए, सिर्फ मुझे पता होने से नहीं होगा, ट्रांसपेरेंसी के लिए, वैल्यू ऑफ ऑडिटर रिपोर्ट बढ़ाने के लिए ना, लेट मी जस्ट टेल दीज 4 मैटर्स टू द यूजर्स बाय वे ऑफ की ऑडिट मैटर्स. तो ऑडिटर विल मेंशन दैट द डेफिनेशन एंड स्पेसिफिकली प्रोवाइडिंग as to a separate opinion is not given. ठीक है. Then further, when the whatever matters auditor has determined to be key audit matters, auditor will communicate them to those charged with governance. That those charged with governance, मैंने आपसे 20 matters I have discussed ना, out of these ना, these 4 matters I am taking as key audit matters in my report, and having determined, ठीक है, if auditor determines that there are no key audit matters, suppose 20 matters में से ना, auditor as per his professional judgment he determines that no matter is most significant, कोई matter है ही नहीं जो users को भी बताना है, ठीक है, they were significant, that is why you discuss them with those charged with governance ना, but according to auditor's professional judgment ना, most significant नहीं है कि उनको key audit matter बनाना है, तो tell that also to the those charged with governance that there is no key audit matter to communicate, and if there is no key audit matter to communicate, since in case of a listed entity it is mandatory to mention the key audit matter section, mention there in the audit report that there is no key audit matter under the heading key audit matter. ठीक है, अब ये पूरा नहीं हुआ, wait, I'll not look at your doubts. ठीक है. Now students, देखो क्या है, एक brief में क्या है कि कुछ matters हैं जो which the auditor has discussed with those charged with governance. Now, once he has formed the opinion, he feels that he needs to communicate such matters to the users also by way of key audit matter. Okay? So, a very, very important question, direct question can come, that key audit matter is not the substitute for a modified opinion. ऐसा थोड़ी ना है that the auditor, instead of giving a modified opinion, he can give a matter in the key audit matter section. No. Modified opinion अगर है तो it will come in the adverse opinion or qualified opinion paragraph ना, ये तो यहाँ पे जाएगी ना, qualified opinion या what I have written adverse opinion paragraph में, तो it is not a substitute for modified opinion. Auditor cannot do like that, instead of giving a key audit matter or instead of giving a modification he mentions it the matter in the modified opinion, because opinion का कोई लेना देना नहीं है key audit matter से, वो सेपरेट है, key audit matter सेपरेट है, ये तो एक मैटर है जो ऑडिटर चाहता है कि यूजर्स को बता दे, because he understands that this is most significance out of the matters discussed with those charged with governance. Simple. Then it is not a substitute for disclosure in financial statement. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता that management which who was required to give a disclosure in the financial statement, management has not given a disclosure, now auditor is giving such disclosure in key audit matter. No. If there is a disclosure requirement, that is for the management to do ना, ये तो मैटर कौन सा है, ये तो मैटर है जो those charged with governance में से most significant है. Same way it is not a substitute for the material uncertainty. Going concern पे अगर कुछ reporting required है, उसका कोई substitute नहीं है. हाँ, अगर आपको key audit matter में mention करना है, you may do that, but going concern की जो reporting requirement है in terms of SA 570, auditor needs to consider that. And lastly, it is not a substitute for a separate opinion on individual matters. ये कोई substitute नहीं है opinion का. Opinion का I told you in a very simple language, opinion का key audit matter से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. ओपिनियन बन गया जैसे बनना था, है ना। नाउ ऑडिटर को लगता है कि ये ना मैं एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन दे देता हूँ यूजर्स को, बिकॉज देर आर मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट। और कहाँ से आते हैं मैटर्स? आउट ऑफ द मैटर्स डिस्कस विद दोज चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस, ठीक है। अभी ऑल्सो आई विल नॉट लुक एट योर क्वेरीज वे। सो दिस इज अ की ऑडिट मैटर ऑफ अ लिस्टेड एंटिटी। तो मैंने सिर्फ एक स्क्रीनशॉट लिया उसका। सो कैसे आता है देखो। अच्छा, आई फॉरगॉट टू टेक द अर्लियर स्क्रीनशॉट, रुको। सो देखो यहाँ पर है की ऑडिट मैटर। सो सी की ऑडिट मैटर, तो हाउ विल इट कम? अ सेपरेट हेडिंग विल कम, ठीक है, की ऑडिट मैटर। एंड नाउ सी, पहले इंट्रोडक्शन देना है ना। वी हैव सीन ना that this essay asked the auditor to give an introduction as to what is key audit matter. So auditor is mentioning here key audit matters are those matters which in our professional judgment were of most significance in our audit of financial statement of current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of financial statement as a whole and in forming our opinion, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. कोई separate opinion नहीं दे रहे हैं, ठीक है। यहाँ पर हमने अपना we have told the users as to what is key audit matter and it is not a separate opinion, ठीक है। Then a sub heading will come, recoverability of, let's say, deferred tax assets. So why is it a key audit matter? And then what audit procedures auditor has done? We have reviewed the evaluation process, Hana. So this matter as such is not in detail. So that is why I'm sharing this. तो देखो की ऑडिट मैटर होता है। सो सब हेडिंग क्या है? रीवैल्यूएशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट। तो यहाँ पर इसके ऊपर क्या था? जस्ट अ मिनट। यहाँ पर व्हाट इज की ऑडिट मैटर ऑडिटर ने बताया होगा एंड ये भी बताया होगा कि ये सेपरेट ओपिनियन नहीं है। उसके बाद मैटर को लिखा एंड how the auditor addressed the same. So it is mentioned that the company has opted for evaluation model, independent valuations करवाए company ने, company has recognized revaluation surplus of this, revaluation of PP is a key audit matter due to all these reasons, है ना। तो basically क्या बताया यहाँ पर कि management ने क्या किया and why this matter is a key audit matter. Now our audit procedures included the following: we read and assessed the company's accounting policies with respect to PPE. We evaluated the design and tested the operating effectiveness. We obtained the company management report on valuation. We assessed the competence, objectivity, independence. We assessed whether change in valuation is to be done, whether we assessed the disclosure requirements. तो देखो हमने क्या, अब जब आप इसको देखोगे you will be able to know ना कि हम क्या बता रहे हैं, कि क्या मैटर है, what is the matter, मैनेजमेंट ने क्या किया, why is it key audit matter, and then we are telling what audit procedures we have done. Why? Because ऑडिटर को लगता है कि मेरा ना बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट टाइम इस पे लगा है, बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट एफर्ट लगा है ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ माय ऑडिट. So out of the matters discussed with those charges governance, this is the matter of most significance which I should tell to the users of the financial statement by bringing it to the key audit matter section. And here, see, just a minute. Okay, and here the auditor needs to specifically mention that we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. Okay, see, substantial amount depends upon professional judgment of the auditor. Siddharth, okay. So I'll do one thing, I'll take you through the summary, and yes, I'll definitely try to use all English. Komala, okay. So let us have a look at key audit matter SA701 from my summary first, and then we will refer to the module. Okay. So in short, let me just tell you. So what is a key audit matter? Most significant audit matter that the auditor has discussed with those charged with governance. Out of so the most significant matters out of the matters discussed with those charged with governance, auditor, if according to his professional judgment, such matter needs to be told to the users of the financial statement, and in case of listed entities, it is a mandatory requirement, the auditor can mention it as a key audit matter. So this SA701 addresses two questions as to first is what to communicate, what all matters will become key audit matters, and the form and content. Okay. So what will become, may auditor will see what what areas involved his significant attention, है ना? And then how to communicate we have seen. Now let us just quickly have a look at the summary. So what is the name? Communicating. Just a minute. Communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. Hana? So it deals with the auditor's responsibility to communicate key audit matter in audit report. It addresses the auditor's judgment as to what to communicate as key audit matter and the form and content of such communication. What are key audit matter? These are those matters. So I'm discussing the definition that in the auditor's professional judgment are most significant in the audit of the financial statement of current period, and these are selected from the matters communicated with those charged with governance. What is the purpose? It enhances the communicated value of audit report, greater transparency आती है, additional information to users आता है, and it assists the users to understand the entity and significant management judgment, है ना? What is the objective? To determine what is a key audit matter and having formed an opinion, because opinion तो बन गया, now to communicate key audit matter in audit report. Listed entities mandatory, if law and regulation required then also mandatory, and even if it is not mandatory, but if the auditor decides to communicate, he may give a key audit matter. Example, in case of financial institution where large number of stakeholders are involved, the auditor may decide to communicate key audit matters. Okay? How to determine? First of all, out of the matters from those communicated to those charged with governance that required significant auditor attention. I gave you example that 20 matters में ना 4 are most significant. तो auditor को लगता है ये बता देते हैं users को. Auditor shall take into account various factors like areas of higher assessed risk of material misstatement and significant risk. So where the significant risk is involved, key audit matter. ठीक है? Where significant auditor judgment and significant management judgment is involved, it can also become what? Key audit matter. The effect of significant event or transaction during the period. Hana? So if there is a significant event or transaction that happened during the year, suppose any merger acquisition happened during the year, the auditor discussed that with the those charged with governance. Auditor feels that this is of most significance. The users of my audit report should know, he can mention it as the key audit matter. Now, how to communicate? Heading key audit matter will come, subheading the matter will come, and then the audit procedures. Further, this essay requires the auditor to define in the introductory language as to what is key audit matter and specifically mention that we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. And whatever matters the auditor decides to give as key audit matter, he will discuss the same with those charged with governance. That means that he will tell those charged with governance that out of the 20 matters that I have discussed with you now, these 4 matters I have considered as key audit matters and I'm giving them in my audit report. And even if there is no key audit matter, the fact needs to be mentioned in the audit report. How? I'll show you. Okay? And the key audit matter, there was a doubt relating to this substitute concept. Now, Bhardwaj, now listen to me carefully. So key audit matter is not a substitute for disclosure in financial statement. Means that if the management has not given a disclosure in the financial statement, it will not mean that the auditor can give that disclosure in the audit report. Giving a disclosure is the responsibility of the management now. Let management do it. Auditor, if you have to consider a matter as the key audit matter, then only mention it there. Okay? It is not a substitute of modified opinion. Instead of giving a modified opinion, can auditor give key audit matter? No. Same way, it is not a substitute for the going concern paragraph that auditor needs to mention in terms of SA 570. Further, it is not a substitute for any separate opinion on individual matters. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि किसी matter पे auditor needs to give an opinion, he will give a separate opinion by way of key audit matter. One opinion that will come in where? In the opinion section. So key audit matter. देखो opinion तो है ही नहीं ना ये क्या है? एक matter है जो ऑडिटर को बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट लगता है. He has discussed with those charged with governance. Now he wants to tell it to the users of the financial statements. ठीक है? And you have seen how, देखो ये सब पढ़ने के बाद the users will be able, they will get additional information. They will know what is the management significant judgment, what is the auditor's procedure he performed, what significant findings were there. ठीक है? Now let us quickly have a look from the module and then I will have a look at your queries. तो देखो wait. So when I was saying now that there is even if there when there is no key audit matter, the auditor need to mention it in case of listed entity. So how? देखो, the following illustrates the presentation in the auditor's report if the auditor has determined that there are no key audit matters. तो ये किसके लिए mandatory है? Listed entities के लिए ना. Except for the matters described in basis for qualified or adverse opinion section or material uncertainty, we have determined that there are no other key audit matters to communicate in our report. Like except for the matters that we have discussed in the basis of opinion section or in the going concern wala section, there are no other key audit matters. The auditor needs to mention it. So, students, Hiral is asking a very correct question. So Hiral is saying, ma'am, where is it mentioned that it is mandatory for a listed entity? So students, this requirement comes from SA 700. Let me just show it to you. SA 700. तो देखो, SA 700 में जब हमने format किया था ना, ये देखो. So for audits of complete set of general purpose financial statement of listed entities, the auditor shall का क्या मतलब है? Mandatorily communicate key audit matters in audit report in accordance with SA 701. When the auditor is otherwise required by law and regulation, he shall do so. And the auditor may decide to communicate key audit matters. May decide का क्या मतलब है? ऐसे से भी रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है एंड आपका लॉ रेगुलेशन से भी रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है, बट ऑडिटर को क्या लगता है दैट दोज मैटर in case of significant public interest because they have a large number of what stakeholders. For example, financial institutions like banks or charitable institutions. So auditor may give what the key audit matter. तो ये कहाँ पर requirement आती है? SA 700 में, and SA 700 make a reference to what? SA 701. Hiral, is your doubt clear? ठीक है, बहुत इजी है, इसको कॉम्प्लिकेट मत करना, जैसे मैंने बताया सिंपली वैसे पढ़ोगे तो समझ आएगा. देखो, इट डील्स विद द ऑडिटर्स रिस्पांसिबिलिटी टू कम्युनिकेट की ऑडिट मैटर्स इन ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट. इट इज इंटेंडेड टू एड्रेस बोथ ऑडिटर्स जजमेंट एज टू व्हाट टू कम्युनिकेट, क्या कम्युनिकेट करना है, एंड फॉर्म एंड कंटेंट क्या है. Now definition: key audit matters are those matters that in the auditor's professional judgment were of most significant. See, most significant word ना यहाँ पर most significant है, इसको पक्का पक्का से यूज करना, कीवर्ड है ये most significant. अब ये छुप गया, क्या था? In the audit of financial statement of current period, and these are from the matters communicated with those charged with governance. ठीक है, पर्पस क्या है आपका? एनहांस करता है कम्युनिकेटिव वैल्यू, ग्रेटर ट्रांसपेरेंसी होती है, एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन मिलता है, एंड communicating it intended users understanding of entity and areas of significant management judgment. ठीक है, ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? टू डिटरमाइन एंड हैविंग फॉर्म्ड एन ओपिनियन, की ओपिनियन बन गया, अब कम्युनिकेट करना है दोज मैटर्स इन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. सो कैसे डिटरमाइन करना है? दैट आउट ऑफ द मैटर्स फ्रॉम द मैटर्स कम्युनिकेटेड विद दोज चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस, द मैटर्स that required significant auditor attention forming an opinion, and in such determination auditor shall take into account areas of higher assessed risk of material misstatement or significant risk identified in terms of SA 315. I gave example of related parties. I gave you example of what your revenue recognition है ना, कि यहाँ ये risky areas लगते हैं, तो यहाँ पर मैनेजमेंट ने क्या किया और मैंने क्या किया. Significant auditor's judgment relating to areas in financial statement that involve significant management judgment, including accounting estimates, high estimation uncertainty. For example, provision कोई create किया है तो 10% ही क्यों किया है, 15% क्यों नहीं किया? मैनेजमेंट जजमेंट लगा, एक्सपर्ट लगा, ऑडिटर्स जजमेंट लगा, तो ऑडिटर को लगता है ये यूजर्स को बता देते हैं कि ये काम हमने ऐसे किया. The effect of audit of significant events or transactions that occur during the year. ठीक है, कम्युनिकेट कैसे करना है? हेडिंग आएगा की ऑडिट मैटर्स एंड द इंट्रोडक्टरी लैंग्वेज. अच्छा, सब हेडिंग, एप्रोप्रिएट सब हेडिंग. जैसे अगर आप रेवेन्यू रिकग्निशन कर रहे हो तो रेवेन्यू रिकग्निशन आएगा, अगर आप डेफर्ड टैक्स एसेट से रिलेटेड कर रहे हो तो वो आएगा. ठीक है, इंट्रोडक्टरी लैंग्वेज में आएगा that what basically this is what definition. So key audit matters are those matters which are of most significance and that we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. ठीक है, and very important, I told you it is not the substitute of the disclosures in the financial statement. for auditor expressing modified opinion for reporting in terms of SA 570 or matters on individual opinion on individual matters. And auditor will communicate with those charged with governance those matters the auditor has determined to be key audit matter. तो communicate तो किया है those charged with governance को, वही matters तो key audit matters बनेंगे. But here the auditor will tell the communicate to those charged with governance that out of those matters, these 4 matters I am going to present as key audit matters. And where there are no key audit matters, auditor will tell this to the those charged with governance also. ठीक है? So is it clear? Quickly tell me. SA 701 क्लियर है? क्विकली बताओ, बिकॉज इसके बाद 706 भी करना है, 710 भी करना है, एंड इफ द टाइम विल परमिट एक रिवीजन भी करना है. The example given on page 11.47 here कहां पर है example? Yes, absolutely correct हिरल. जहां पर कहीं पे कोई मैटर नहीं है, देखो की ऑडिट मैटर है ना, तो जो बेसिस ऑफ ओपिनियन में हमने समझाया समझा दिया, गोइंग कंसर्न में जो हमें समझाना था समझा दिया, उसके अलावा कुछ है ही नहीं जो की ऑडिट मैटर की तरह देखें हम. हिरल इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है. So many of you are saying ma'am it is all everything is clear, so that is good. So here I'll do one thing, I'll take a very quick break of 10 minutes here, and then after the break we will start with SA 706 and thereafter SA 710. meanwhile please send in your replies, समझ आ रहा है, और अगर कोई डाउट है please send in all your queries. ठीक है. So quick break of 10 minutes here. So students, welcome back. I hope you all are back. So I can see there is one doubt, Khushi's doubt, which is related to SA 560. So 560 ki reporting requirements, Khushi, I cannot take up here in detail. You all must have done that in detail in your chapter number 3, subsequent events mein, hai na? And if you have not attended that lecture, you can view that lecture on your app, or it is available on YouTube also. Okay? So now I'll be starting with SA 706. So the way you all have cooperated with me in discussing SA 701, Hana. So please do the same while you are understanding SA 706, and I'll follow the same pattern that I'll first explain you in detail as to what is SA 706 all about. Then we will go through this summary, then the module, and then your queries. Okay? So with 100% concentration. So what is the name of SA 706? So it is emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs, again where in the independent auditor's report. Okay? So tell me a yes or no. Have you seen EOM and OM paragraph in the elements of independent auditor report when we were discussing the format? Did you see this element, emphasis of matters paragraph or other matter paragraphs in the independent auditor's report? Quickly, I need replies. Definitely, I need replies. Then only I'll proceed. Anna? ये कहाँ पर देखा बताओ हितेश नीलाब्जो? Go to page number 11.8. ठीक है? So students, SA 701, where we will be discussing about emphasis of matter paragraph and other matter paragraph, again where in the independent auditor's report. Okay? So it is what? It is an additional communication. In addition to that format, additional communication. By way of what? Emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs. Additional communication requirement hai in the independent auditor's report. Okay? Clear? Clear? Now, see students, having formed an opinion where the auditor feels that as per his professional judgment, there are certain matters which are appropriately disclosed by the management in the financial statement. Disclosure is the way it was required. It is absolutely correct. But auditor feels that there is a need to draw the attention of the users of the audit report of the financial statement towards that matter. So according to the professional judgment of the auditor, though the management has appropriately disclosed something in the notes to accounts of the company, now auditor feels that it is his responsibility to draw the attention of the users of the audit report of the audited financial statement to that note. So basically kya hua? That management has, let's say in note number, let's say 3, it has shown appropriately that a fire broke out during the year and it has an impact of so and so amount on the financial statements of the company. So that note is given in notes to accounts by the management of the company absolutely in the correct way. But now auditor feels that it is my duty to draw attention of the users. ऐसा हो सकता है ना कि users इस note को read ही ना करें, तो let me just rewrite the note number in my report कि users, देखो, आई एम ड्रॉइंग योर अटेंशन टूवर्ड्स नोट नंबर 3 where management has appropriately shown a point related to what, that a fire broke out in the company factory during the year and this was the impact, है ना? So how will the auditor do that? He will mention this fact in emphasis of matter paragraph. देखो, as the name suggests, auditor wants to emphasize on a matter, है ना, which has been duly disclosed, presented by the management in the financial statement. वो notes to accounts में properly आ गया है, but auditor को लगता है एक बारी मैं भी बता देता हूँ users को. तो कैसे बताना है? By way of emphasis of matter paragraph. Clear? Clear. ठीक है. अब other matter paragraph क्या होता है? Auditor को लगता है that apart from the information which is disclosed when we were doing SC 600 relating to using the work of another auditor, I told you that when any of the component or branch of the entity is not been audited by the auditor, principal auditor, he will mention that fact in other matter paragraph. That see, with respect to all these units, I have not conducted the audit. तो देखो, who has conducted the audit? ये management थोड़ी ना mention करेगा notes to accounts में, but auditor wants to draw the attention of the users of the audited financial statement of his audit report, users of his audit report, that see, with respect to these components, I have not conducted the audit. So where can auditor mention that fact? In the other matter paragraph. ठीक है, अभी ध्यान से सुनो, सब कुछ क्लियर होगा. रुको. Emphasis of matter paragraph. आप कुछ emphasize करना चाह रहे हो किसी मैटर पे जो मैनेजमेंट, which management has properly accounted for, it has properly disclosed in the books of accounts. Other matter paragraphs, other than the matter which are disclosed in the financial statement, the auditor feels that it is necessary for the user's understanding of the audit. ठीक है, so auditor will mention that. So let us first understand as to what can be such matters. ठीक है, so देखो, it deals with what? Additional communication. कुछ additional communication कर रहे हो ना, independent auditors report के addition में you are giving some information, so it is an additional communication which is necessary to draw users attention. अब कौन से users? Users of the audited financial statement, users of the audit report. ठीक है, two matters presented or disclosed in financial statement which are of such importance. तो मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट वर्ड नहीं आया यहाँ पर. मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट, अल्टीमेट सिग्निफिकेंट तो कहाँ जाएंगे? की ऑडिट मैटर्स में. जो सिग्निफिकेंट है वो कहाँ आएंगे? EOM में. ठीक है, विच आर ऑफ सच इंपॉर्टेंस that they are fundamental to the user's understanding of financial statement. If the users have to understand the financial statement, na, they should know that a fire broke out during the year. If the users have to understand the financial statement, na, it is very important. Fundamental का क्या मतलब है? It is important for the users understanding of the financial statement. Let's say if any litigation is going on, ठीक है, and company has properly disclosed this fact that we have made a contingent liability, सब कुछ appropriately disclosed in notes to accounts है, but here the auditor feels that for a better understanding of the users of the financial statements, they should be made aware, their attention should be drawn to this note. So I'll mention it as, I'll emphasize on this matter in my emphasis of matter paragraph. Simple. ठीक है, तो ये किसकी बात कर रहा है? बेसिकली दिस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट EOM पैराग्राफ. नाउ हियर, to the matters other than those presented which are relevant to the user's understanding. यहाँ पर word was what? Financial statement. Financial statements को समझना है ना, तभी तो ये बता रहे हैं ना कि fire broke out, या तभी तो हम ये बता रहे हैं ना that litigation था और provision बना है contingent liability. और यहाँ पर हम क्या बता रहे हैं? User's understanding of audit, auditor's responsibility and audit report. I gave you example of what? That the branch audit or the component audit was not done by me. हम ये लिख रहे हैं. तो auditor responsibility के बारे में बता रहे हैं ना, audit report के बारे में बता रहे हैं ना हम. ठीक है. Same way, if I tell the users of the financial statement कि predecessor, the financial statement of prior period were audited by predecessor auditor, तो हम audit के बारे में बता रहे हैं ना इसके अंदर. So this is fundamental to the users understanding of what audit, auditor's responsibility and audit report. और ये कहाँ पर हम बताते हैं? Other matter paragraph में. ठीक है. ठीक है. Now what is the objective? Again, having formed an opinion. So again, this matter as such is not a substitute for a modified opinion. ऐसा नहीं है कि opinion modify करने के बजाय EOM दे दो या OM दे दो. Opinion का जो भी matter है, that is to be considered where in the opinion section, and the basis is to be given in basis of opinion section. So this is altogether what? Basically the having formed an opinion अब लिख दिया. ठीक है, that has been done. Now the auditor wants to draw the attention of the users of the his audit report to some matters which are of importance and fundamental to the users understanding of what? Financial statements. तो वो कहाँ आएगा? EOM में. And to the users understanding of what? Audit, auditor's responsibility, audit report, वो कहाँ आएगा? Other matter में. And जो EOM में आता है, that matter has been duly disclosed by the management. उसमें कोई problem नहीं है, but हम users को क्या बता रहे हैं कि users सुनो, वो note ना पढ़ लेना अच्छे से. Please go through that note. ठीक है. So draw users attention by way of clear additional communication requirement in audit report. ठीक है. So EOM paragraph क्या होता है? Paragraph included in audit report referring to the matters appropriately disclosed in financial statement that in the auditor's judgment is of importance. देखो most significant होगा, अगर बहुत significant है वो तो हमारा key audit matter है ना. तो that is of important to the that is of such importance that it is fundamental to the user's understanding of what? Financial statement. Other matter paragraph included in audit report refers to the matter other than those disclosed in financial statement. अब ये थोड़ी ना आएगा उधर की predecessor auditor report किसने किया था, वो तो we as an auditor we are telling the users of the financial statement ना of relevant to, which is relevant. देखो relevant है, important है, most significant word तो यहाँ कहीं नहीं है, to the user's understanding of audit, auditor's responsibility and audit report. ठीक है. Now EOM paragraph shall कैसे आएगा? It shall include EOM, emphasis of matter in audit report. ठीक है. And auditor is not required to modify opinion as a result of this matter. So it is not a substitute for modified opinion. ऐसा नहीं है that this is a matter which leads to modification, that is why we are emphasizing on this matter. No, this is a matter which has been duly disclosed by the management in the financial statement, and as per the auditor's professional judgment, it is important for the user's understanding of the financial statement, इसलिए we are mentioning it as EOM. Further, देखो I told you ये most significant वाला matter नहीं है, because अगर most significant वाला matter है उसको तो key audit matter दिखाना पड़ेगा in terms of SA 701. ठीक है. So when SA 701 applies, matter has not been determined as calm. तो when can a matter be determined as EOM? EOM में कब लिख सकते हैं? जब उसकी वजह से modification नहीं हो रहा है, उसकी वजह से modification नहीं हो रहा है. ठीक है. And further, when the matter has not been determined as a key audit matter. Why? Because अगर वो key audit matter है तो वो तो फिर SA 701 में आएगा. ठीक है. Now how to mention it? By giving a separate section emphasis of matter, clear reference of matter being emphasized. ऐसे आएगा emphasis of matter dash fire in factory. तो clear reference दे दिया. ठीक है. Relevant disclosure in financial statement, refer to note so and so in financial statement regarding this. ठीक है. Indicate that auditor's opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. ये भी mention करना है. Example, suppose there is any uncertainty with respect to future outcome of a litigation and management has duly disclosed it, this can be one of the EOM. Significant subsequent events properly dealt in the books of accounts, properly disclosed, auditor can show it as what? A EOM. It can show it in EOM paragraph. Early application of new accounting standard. If any accounting standard has been applied before the date, the management has duly reflected it in the notes to accounts. Management, the auditor may mention it in the EOM paragraph. Major catastrophe, what is meant by catastrophe? Any disaster, कोई fire हुआ, कोई earthquake हुआ, है ना? So event causing a damage, that is disaster, है ना? कोई भी fire हो गया, earthquake हो गया, तो management has disclosed it in the books of accounts, this notes to accounts में, but auditor can draw the user's attention to that note. And again, EOM paragraph is not a substitute for modified opinion, because modify करना है तो opinion paragraph में जाओ. Disclosure in financial statement, why? Because ये matter तो होते ही वो है which have been duly disclosed in the financial statement. Once the matter has been duly disclosed, then only it becomes matter of EOM paragraph. And reporting in term of essay 570 going concern, because going concern का कोई मैटर है तो वो तो ऐसे 570 के पैराग्राफ में जाके आप रिपोर्ट करो. Simple. Same way with respect to other matter paragraph. Auditor shall include OM provided it is not prohibited by law and it is not determined as key audit matter, because key audit matter है तो ऐसे 701 में ले जाओ, most significant है ना, तो वहां पर ले जाओ. Separate section आएगा other matter. Simple. Then if the auditor expects to include EOM and OM in audit report, देखो यहाँ पर कहीं नहीं लिखा it is mandatory, it is not mentioned. वहां पर तो था ना listed entities में it is mandatory KM mention करने के लिए. So if the auditor expects, auditor according to his professional judgment, he expects that okay, I'll be using EOM and OM paragraph. Auditor needs to communicate such expectation. Expectation is what? That I am going to use EOM and OM, and the wording, what wording he is going to mention in the audit report to those charged with governance. ठीक है, अभी रुको, ये खत्म नहीं हुआ, wait. ठीक है, so let me just show you in a practical audit report as to how EOM will come. देखो ये एक this is SA 706. तो opinion तो simple चल रहा है that the financial statement give a true and fair view, है ना? तो opinion से तो I told you ना, opinion will come in the opinion paragraph, basis of opinion वैसे ही आएगा. Now emphasis of matter paragraph. So let's say a fire broke out. So fire in factory, ऐसे करके you will mention the heading. We draw attention to note X of financial statement which describe the effects of a fire in the company's production facilities. Our opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. तो देखो ऐसे आया ना, emphasis of matter paragraph. Other matter कैसे आएगा देखो, other matter heading आएगा. The financial statement of ABC company for the earlier financial year were audited by another auditor who expressed an unmodified opinion that the prior period financial statement were audited by predecessor auditor. तो ये हमने information कहाँ दे दी? Other matter में. Why? Because it is relevant to the user's understanding of what? Auditor's responsibility. Clear? Catastrophe is disaster. कोई fire, कोई earthquake आ जाता है. ठीक है? Clear है? So let me just take you through the summary. तो अच्छा we have done. Let me just take you through the module and then I'll have a look at all your queries. तो emphasis of matter paragraphs आया, other matters आया in the independent audit report. So students, SA 706 deals with what? Additional communication. Additional क्यों है, अब समझ आया? In the auditor's report, when auditor consider is necessary to draw users attention to a matters presented disclosed in financial statement. तो disclose हो गया है, वो ही EOM बनता है. ठीक है? And which are of such importance. देखो most significance हो जाएगा तो वो key audit matter हो जाएगा, और most significance है तो auditor ने those charged with governance से discuss किया होगा ना, तो वो 701 में आ जाएगा. That are fundamental to the user's understanding of financial statement. तो ये किसकी बात कर रहा है? EOM की बात कर रहा है. And to draw users attention to any matters other than those presented disclosed in financial statement that are relevant to user understanding of audit, auditor's responsibility and auditor's report. तो ये किसकी बात कर रहा है? OM की. Objective क्या है? To draw the user's attention by clear additional communication. कैसे? यही वाले दोनों matters. अब EOM क्या होता है? Paragraph included in auditor's report that refers to a matter appropriately presently or disclosed that in the auditor's judgment is of such importance or fundamental to the user's understanding of financial statement है. Other matter क्या होता है? Paragraph included in AR that refers to a matter other than those disclosed that is fundamental to the, that is relevant to the user's understanding of AR, auditor's responsibility and all that. ठीक है? तो अब यहाँ पर क्या है कि इफ ऑडिटर कंसिडर इज नेसेसरी वो दिखा सकता है, लेकिन कब, प्रोवाइडेड वो मॉडिफिकेशन वाला मैटर ना हो, वो की ऑडिट मैटर ना हो। अगर की ऑडिट मैटर है तो वहीं जाना पड़ेगा, और मॉडिफिकेशन है तो वहीं पे ओपिनियन सेक्शन में जाना पड़ेगा। एंड सेपरेट सेक्शन आएगा वेयर इट विल इंक्लूड अ सेपरेट सेक्शन ईयूएम के साथ। देखो यहाँ पर डिफाइन करने के लिए नहीं बोला गया है कि पहले डिफाइन करो, ठीक है, एम्फोसिस ऑफ मैटर बस आपने लिख दिया, बट की ऑडिट मैटर को डिफाइन भी करना है। इंक्लूड अ पैराग्राफ of clear reference of the matter being emphasized and shall refer only to the information which has been presented or disclosed, and it will emphasize that we have not modified the opinion. What are the examples? Important question है ना, कि कौन से examples और circumstances can become example of emphasis of matter. So uncertainty है, significant subsequent event है, early application of AS है, catastrophic disaster है, ये भी example of fire, earthquake, ठीक है। EOM, yes, it is not a substitute. Again, very important question. 705 का modification करना है तो opinion section में जाओ। अगर आपको क्या करना है, डिस्क्लोजर देना है तो मैनेजमेंट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में देगा। अगर आपको गोइंग कंसर्न पे रिपोर्टिंग करनी है तो गोइंग कंसर्न पैराग्राफ में जाओ, ठीक है। सो देखो यहाँ पर क्या है, that during the year a fire broke out in the company's factory, the same was disclosed by the company notes to accounts. CA Kamalnath decided to communicate this matter in the auditor's report as he is of the view that the matter is of such importance that it is fundamental to the user's understanding. तो वो कैसे करेगा, तो देखो emphasis of matter heading आएगी, effects of fire आएगा, and फिर क्या आएगा, we draw attention to note number 5, ठीक है। अदर मैटर क्या है, if the auditor consider is necessary to communicate a matter other than those which are presented in financial statements which are relevant to the user's understanding। देखो दोनों जगह ना most significant word नहीं आया, because वो तो क्या है, की ऑडिट मैटर है। तो अगर if it is not prohibited by law या वो की ऑडिट मैटर नहीं है तो आप शो कर सकते हो, सेपरेट सेक्शन आएगा। एंड इफ यू एक्सपेक्ट टू इंक्लूड, मतलब मैंडेटरी तो है नहीं कहीं पे, तो अगर आपको लगता है कि इंक्लूड कर रहे हो तो पहले दो स्टार विद गवर्नेंस को बता दो और वर्डिंग्स भी बता दो। नाउ क्विकली टेल मी, क्वेरीज में एकदम सन्नाटा है, कोई भी क्वेरी नहीं आई है, क्विकली सेंड इन रिप्लाईज। क्लियर है, कोई डाउट है? हीरल, regarding your doubt of catastrophe, is it clear? एंड की ऑडिट मैटर में ना एक पॉइंट रह गया 701 में, आई विल क्विकली टेक दैट अप, पर पहले सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज। क्लियर है? यस नीलाब्ज, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर, ठीक है। देखो की ऑडिट मैटर में ना एक पॉइंट रह गया जो मैंने व्हेन वी वर डूइंग डिस्क्लेमर ऑफ ओपिनियन ना, तब आई लेफ्ट दैट पॉइंट। सो देखो की ऑडिट मैटर में हम क्या बोलते हैं, that this is the most significant matter that I want to tell to the users of the financial statement, ठीक है। ऐसे 705 में हम क्या बोलते हैं, that disclaimer of opinion क्या है कि मैं opinion नहीं दे रहा हूँ, I am not in a position to give an opinion, why? Because I am unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, ठीक है। Now SF 705 says that consideration when the auditor disclaims an opinion on financial statement. So it says that if the auditor is disclaiming an opinion under section under SA 705, in that case auditor will not give key audit matter, है ना? Why? Because logical है ना, because auditor आप तो कह रहे हो आपको sufficient appropriate audit evidence मिला ही नहीं है, आप opinion ही नहीं दे रहे हो, और एक साइड पे आप additional information दे रहे हो that these were the key audit matters, है ना? So it is specifically mentioned that unless required by law and regulation, when the auditor disclaims an opinion on the financial statements, so disclaimer of opinion जब आएगा, the auditor's report shall not include key audit matters in accordance with SA 701। तो अगर आपका अनमॉडिफाइड ओपिनियन है तो की ऑडिट मैटर आ जाएगा, क्वालिफाइड ओपिनियन है देन आल्सो की ऑडिट मैटर कैन कम, एडवर्स ओपिनियन में भी की ऑडिट मैटर कैन कम, बट डिस्क्लेमर ऑफ ओपिनियन में जहां आपसे इंफॉर्मेशन ही नहीं दी जा रही है अबाउट द ओपिनियन, तो अब एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन क्या दोगे ना, ठीक है, समझ आता है। सो दिस वाज द पॉइंट व्हिच वाज लेफ्ट, ठीक है। सो बेसिकली जो भी हमने की ऑडिट मैटर और ईओएम ओएम पढ़ा ना, यहाँ पर हमने क्या पढ़ा है, दैट एक यूजर्स को एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहे हैं। की ऑडिट मैटर में हम क्या बता रहे हैं, नेहा लिसन टू दिस केयरफुली, की ऑडिट मैटर में हम क्या बता रहे हैं, दैट आउट ऑफ द मैटर्स discuss with those charged with governance. These are the matters of most significance जहां auditor का significant time लगा, significant judgment लगा, significant management judgment लगा है, तो auditor को लगता है that I need to inform the users of the financial statement कि देखो during the course of audit ना ये 4 matters थे जो management ने ऐसे deal किए, मैंने ऐसे deal किए, पर इसमें मेरा opinion कोई modified नहीं है. ये होता है key audit matters SA 705 mandatory for listed entities. ठीक है. Emphasis of matter paragraph क्या होता है, जहां auditor को लगता है that कुछ भी areas हैं which have been appropriately disclosed by the management in the financial statement, and अगर users को financial statement को understand करना है ना, उनका attention draw कर देता हूँ. It might be possible that the users of the financial statement may not go through that note while they are reading the audited financial statement. The auditor will specifically mention in the EUM paragraph that we refer to note number so and so on page number so and so financial statement, कि आप उसको भी पढ़ लो एक बारी जब आप financial statements को read कर रहे हो, and our opinion is not modified with respect to this matter. EOM, ठीक है. Other matter क्या है? अब ये EOM तो किस लिए था? Fundamental to users understanding of financial statement. Other matter क्या है? इन matters के अलावा which are not disclosed in financial statement, but auditor feels that these are relevant for the users understanding of audit, कि audit कैसे हुआ था, ऑडिटर की क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. अगर इसमें से कुछ भी समझना है ना, तो ऑडिटर विल मेंशन व्हाट दैट, फॉर एग्जांपल कि prior period audit was conducted by predecessor auditor by not me. component का ऑडिट मैंने नहीं किया, किसी और ने किया है, तो बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ यूजर तो होएगा, बट किसके लिए? ऑडिट के लिए. फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स का थोड़ी ना कुछ पता चलेगा. ठीक है, क्लियर है? इज इट क्लियर? Quickly send in your reply. Yes, disclaimer अगर आपका कहीं पर भी है, KM paragraph will not come. ठीक है? Is it clear? कहाँ लिखा है हीरल? Why word? See, expectation लिखा है. This is not exception. Expectation. If auditor expects to include EOM, तो auditor expect कर रहा है कि भाई मैं यूज करने वाला हूँ EOM, OM. तो auditor पहले those charged with governance को बताएगा. Hiral, is it clear? Hiral, is your doubt clear? तो it is not exception. देखो ध्यान से पढ़ो, expectation है. ठीक है, तो Hiral is saying ma'am it is clear. ठीक है. So now the last essay of this chapter, which is essay 710. ठीक है. So I hope students जो speed है हमारी, जो भी हम पढ़ रहे हैं समझ आ रहा है. ठीक है. थोड़ा सा speed is fast, I know. Why? Because I need to complete this chapter in entirety. I don't want to leave anything for you to understand on your own, है ना? तो एक बारी once you have gone through the entire chapter with me, the entire module with me, the understanding, the learning is going to be very, very easy for all of you. ठीक है? So now quickly send in your thumbs up or anything like that. Shall we proceed with essay 710? Essay 710. Comparative information. The name is a bit lengthy. Comparative information dash corresponding figures and comparative financial statements. So I've started without getting your thumbs up. Chalo. Essay 710. Yes, ma'am. Proceed with speed. Chalo, good. Comparative information, corresponding figures, and comparative financial statement. है ना? So basically, see, whenever there is a comparative information in the financial statements, ठीक है? So अभी I'm not talking about corresponding figures or comparative financial statements. अभी I'm just saying, if the financial statements that the auditor is auditing, it has information of the prior period, one or more prior periods, तो वो क्या होता है? Comparative information. Now in that case, the responsibility of the auditor is dealt in SA 710, and the name is what? Comparative information dash corresponding figures and comparative financial statements. ठीक है? So comparative information is of two type, which is what? Corresponding figures and comparative financial statement. But वो दोनों क्या होती है? We'll discuss that later on. अभी we are discussing about comparative information, which I have told you that comparative information means when the auditor is conducting the audit of, let's say, financial year 2021, and along with the figures of financial year 2021, financial year financial figures of prior periods, one or more prior periods, let's say 1920, है ना, or and 1819 are also mentioned. So comparative information हो गया. So in that case, what is the responsibility of the auditor? Is he going to give his opinion only on the year 2021 या पहले वाले figures पे भी? So this is all that we are going to discuss in this SA 710. ठीक है? So SA 710, it deals with auditor's responsibility with respect to comparative information. ठीक है? Now students, quickly tell me, अब मेरे को लगता है आपने answers वैसे देख लिए हैं. Suppose I'm conducting the audit for the financial year 2021, and last year the audit was conducted by a predecessor auditor. ठीक है? Or let's say, or there can be a situation where the last year financial statement were unaudited. Tell me which SA comes to your mind. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. If the last year financial statements were audited by a predecessor auditor, that is not by this year auditor, or they were unaudited, which SA, the responsibility of the auditor as per which SA? Yes, SA 510, Khushi, Nilabjo, Smitha, Hitesh, Kehani, Charu, absolutely correct. Initial audit engagement opening balances, है ना? तो auditor needs to consider his reporting responsibility as per SA 510. ठीक है? Now it says that if the prior period financial statements were audited by predecessor auditor, they were not audited, then SA 510 will come into picture. ठीक है? Hiral, Prabhas, absolutely correct. Charu, absolutely correct. ठीक है? Now, nature of financial information, whether it is corresponding or comparative, it depends upon the applicable FRF कि applicable FRF क्या बोलता है. अभी वो क्या होते हैं हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे. So basically, whenever comparative information is given, मतलब I'll mention CI, है ना, comparative information मतलब 2021 का जिसका मेरे को ऑडिट करना था, इसके साथ प्रायर पीरियड इंफॉर्मेशन इज आल्सो गिवन. तो व्हाट इज द रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ द ऑडिटर? सो द रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ द ऑडिटर विल बी टू ऑब्टेन सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस दैट कंपैरेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन इज शोन एज पर द एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ. बेशक वो कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स दिखाए हैं या कंपैरेटिव फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट दिखाए हैं, दिस इज एज पर द एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ एंड टू रिपोर्ट अकॉर्डिंगली. सिंपल. ठीक है? सो कंपैरेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन हमने क्या पढ़ा? अमाउंट डिस्क्लोजर्स इंक्लूडेड इन फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ वन और मोर प्रायर पीरियड एज पर द एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ. क्लियर? नाउ व्हाट आर द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कंपैरेटिव फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन? मतलब क्या है? In a simple language, that you are conducting the audit of 2021 and last year ka data is also given in those financial statement. So first of all, what is the audit procedures, है ना? तो whether it is corresponding figure, whether it is comparative financial statement, और वो क्या होते हैं हम later on discuss करेंगे. Audit procedures same रहेंगे. तो difference कहाँ आता है? Reporting में difference आता है. ठीक है? ठीक है? So ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स क्या रहेंगे व्हेन द कंपैरेटिव फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन इज गिवन? देखो ऑडिटर पहले तो देखेगा वेदर इट इज एज पर एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ एंड इफ यस वेदर इट इज एप्रोप्रिएटली क्लासिफाइड. कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं होना चाहिए. 2021 की इंफॉर्मेशन शुड बी शोन एज 2021, 1920 की 1920 में. तो एप्रोप्रिएटली क्लासिफाइड होना चाहिए, एज पर एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ होना चाहिए. सिंपल है. ठीक है? सिंपल. ठीक है? नाउ if the comparative information है ना, agrees with the amount or disclosure of the prior period. So auditor will consider that also, that whatever information of 1920 is given, whether it agrees to the information or the amount disclosed in the prior period, मतलब whether it is brought forward appropriately or not. जो लास्ट ईयर का क्लोजिंग है वो अभी का ओपनिंग होगा ना, तो ऑडिटर विल कंसीडर दैट कि प्रॉपरली आया है या नहीं. Further, auditor will see whether the accounting policies applied are consistent or not, and if any changes are there, the same has been properly accounted for, presented and disclosed. ये तो हम बहुत टाइम से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं, right? तो अभी तक हमने कुछ भी नया नहीं किया. हमने क्या पढ़ा है? If any comparative information, और comparative information क्या होता है? When amount or disclosures included in financial statement in respect of one or more prior period as per the applicable FRF. वो कैसे होगा? Depend होता है FRF पे, ठीक है? So first of all, auditor will see whether it is as per applicable FRF, and if yes, then whether it is appropriately classified. Proper classification hai na, that this pertains to 2021, this pertains to 1920, and whether it agrees with the amount disclosures of the prior period, that is, it is brought forward appropriately or not. ठीक है? Last point, very simple. Accounting policies consistent है या नहीं, change है तो disclosure है या नहीं, appropriately accounted for है या नहीं. Further, अब ये जो new points है, अब ये सुनो, देखो. It says that while performing the current period audit, 2021 का जब आप audit कर रहे थे ना, auditor becomes aware about possible misstatement in comparative information. Auditor को ऐसा कुछ मिलता है, कोई evidence मिलता है, या auditor को कोई ऐसी information मिलती है, that comparative information में ना there may be possible, अभी possibility है, possible misstatement हो सकती है. तो क्या ऑडिटर एकदम से बोल देगा मैं ओपिनियन नहीं दे रहा, मैं मॉडिफाइड ओपिनियन दे रहा हूँ? नहीं, पॉसिबल है ना, तो एडिशनल प्रोसीजर्स कर लो ना, सफिशिएंट एब्रोगेट ऑडिट एविडेंस ले लो ना, सिंपल. इफ द ऑडिटर हैज ऑडिटेड द प्रायर पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, अगर देखो ऑडिटर ने ही ऑडिट किया था लास्ट ईयर का फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. अब देखो, लेट मी जस्ट हाइड दिस पेज एंड आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन. 2021 का ऑडिट ऑडिटर वाज डूइंग. While conducting the audit of 2021, auditor came across some information that 1920 में there was a misstatement which at that time was not detected. ठीक है, उस टाइम पे पता नहीं चला था, and that time auditor gave an unmodified opinion. ठीक है. Now tell me, last year का audit भी अगर इसी auditor ने किया है तो कौन सा ऐसे will come here? This the event occurring after the date of audit report, कौन सा ऐसे consider करोगे? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly, students, I need answer, है ना? Yes, absolutely correct. Smita, Himanshu, Hiral, Karthik, Nilabjo, subsequent event. Because now ये वाले year का कोई event है after the date of audit report, since you were the auditor, that event becomes what? Subsequent event. So auditor will consider his reporting responsibility as per subsequent event. Simple है ना? अभी तक एक revision है जो आपने अभी तक किया, ठीक है? Further, it says that if the information, comparative information of prior periods are given, auditor needs to obtain a written representation. Quickly send me the essay number with respect to written representation for all periods referred to in the opinion. And if any of the item is shown as prior period item in the current year P&L account, the auditor needs to obtain written representation for that also. बड़ा ही logical है ना कि कैसे कैसे करना है. Quickly send in your replies, written representation. तो ठीक है, I'll not wait. essay 580. ठीक है, तो देखो अभी तक हमने क्या पढ़ा? हमने पढ़ा that where the comparative information is given. Comparative information क्या होता है? Amounts disclosures included in financial statement in respect of one or more prior periods as per the applicable FRF. अगर ऐसा है तो ऑडिटर को क्या करना है, ऑडिटर को SA 710 लगाना है. What is the objective? To obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that comparative information has been shown as per the applicable FRF and to report accordingly. What are the audit procedures the auditor will perform? First of all, he'll see whether the comparative information is shown as per applicable FRF, and if yes, whether it is appropriately classified or not. He'll see, verify whether the comparative information agrees with the amount or disclosure of the prior period, that is whether it has been properly, appropriately brought forward or not, whether the accounting policies are consistently applied, and in case of any changes, the same is properly accounted for, presented and disclosed. Simple. While performing the audit for the current year, if auditor becomes aware of a possible misstatement in comparative information, he needs to perform what additional audit procedure to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And if he was the auditor last year, he needs to consider his responsibility as per SA 560. He needs to obtain written representation in terms of SA 580 with respect to all the periods for which information has been given and referred in the opinion, and with respect to the prior period item which has been mentioned in the current period P&L, he needs to obtain separate written representation from the management. ठीक है, कोई doubt है? नहीं है. ठीक है. Now I told you reporting में there is a difference between the two types of comparative information. So comparative information क्या होता है हमने देख लिया, उसका ऑडिट प्रोसीजर क्या होगा हमने देख लिया, ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है ये हमने देख लिया, तो ये कॉमन है. ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट आर कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स एंड व्हाट आर कंपैरेटिव फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. दोनों क्या होती है, कंपैरेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन होता है. एक तो होता है बाय वे ऑफ कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स और एक होता है बाय वे ऑफ कंपैरेटिव फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. ठीक है. अब कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स क्या होता है, बहुत सिंपल है ना. जब आपको कोई बैलेंस शीट दिया हुआ है, ठीक है, आपको बैलेंस शीट दिया हुआ है, ठीक है, एंड आपको 2021 एंड 1920 के भी कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स दिए हुए हैं, कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स. तो ये क्या हो गया, कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स. सो students just try to understand na, when I am conducting the audit of 2021, but the applicable FRF requires the company to show the corresponding figures, so such corresponding figures are given only for the purpose of understanding the current period financial statement. Now for example, last time building was 1 crore, this time it is 5 crores. So I will read it as that building has increased by 5 crores as compared to last year, है ना. तो I'll read this 1 crore in relation to current period. बस इतना ही काम है corresponding figure का. Why is it mentioned? Because applicable FRF में दिया है. And how is it read? It is read in relation to the current period financial statement. ठीक है. So as a standalone, we are not analyzing it, but we are analyzing it in reference to what current period financial statement. That last year say there has been an increase of rupees 4 crores in the building amount, है ना. और same way with respect to other I think I got muted, but I hope it is clear. So what is corresponding figures, है ना. ठीक है. So comparative information where amounts and other disclosures for prior period are included as an integral part. देखो integral part है ना, वहीं पर तो आपने ऐड कर दिया ना उसको, as an integral part of current period financial statement and are intended to be read only, मैंने पहले से इसको सर्कल किया, only in relation to amounts and other disclosure relating to current period. अब अगर मेरे को बैलेंस शीट में दिया हुआ है कि क्रेडिटर्स जो हैं लास्ट ईयर 10 lakhs थे, दिस ईयर दे हैव इंक्रीज टू 15 lakhs, तो मैं बोलूंगी कि लास्ट ईयर से 5 lakhs का इंक्रीज हुआ है, इतना परसेंटेज इंक्रीज हुआ है. दैट इज द ओनली यूज ऑफ सच कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स. तो कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स कौन सा हो गया, फिगर्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1920. समझ आता है? हाँ, ठीक है. नाउ आई टोल्ड यू दैट उसके लिए ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स क्या होंगे. ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स तो यही होंगे दैट एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ के अकॉर्डिंग है या नहीं, प्रॉपर्ली शोन किया है नहीं, प्रॉपर्ली कैरी फॉरवर्ड हुआ है नहीं, अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी सेम है या नहीं, कोई पॉसिबल मिसस्टेटमेंट है तो परफॉर्म करना है, ऐसे 560 देखना है. तो ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स तो सेम है. But now with respect to reporting, so how will the auditor report? ठीक है. So the thumb rule is what? With respect to corresponding figures, auditor needs to give his report only with respect to the current period. आपको report तो current period पे ही देना है. आपको फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2021 पर ही रिपोर्ट देना है, एक्सेप्ट इन द फॉलोइंग सर्कमस्टांसेस। पर अगर ये तीन सिचुएशंस होती है, एनी ऑफ दीज, तो ऑडिटर को 1920 के लिए भी कुछ मेंशन करना पड़ेगा। सिंपल है। So what are these three circumstances? So auditor's opinion shall not refer to corresponding figures except it shall not refer. So what is the thumb rule? तो ये देखो, ये मैंने ऊपर लिखा है, with respect to corresponding figures auditor's opinion refers to current period only. मतलब in our example 2021 को ही रेफर करना है, ठीक है, बट एक्सेप्ट इन द फॉलोइंग, मतलब इन केसेस में कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स को भी आप रेफर करोगे व्हेन। देखो बहुत सिंपल सिचुएशंस है। व्हेन द प्रायर पीरियड, मतलब 1920 के जो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स थे, जो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट थे, इट वाज मॉडिफाइड, क्वालिफाइड एडवर्स या डिस्क्लेमर था, एंड जो मैटर बेसिस ऑफ क्वालिफाइड ओपिनियन और एडवर्स या डिस्क्लेमर ओपिनियन पैराग्राफ में मैटर था ना, दैट इज स्टिल अनरिजॉल्व्ड। वो अभी तक मैनेजमेंट ने करेक्ट ही नहीं किया है, दैट इज स्टिल अनरिजॉल्व्ड। देखो वो मैटर स्टिल अनरिजॉल्व्ड है, इट इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट माय करंट पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स आल्सो ना, सो ऑडिटर विल मॉडिफाई द करंट पीरियड ओपिनियन। तो ऑडिटर विल अकॉर्डिंगली मॉडिफाई। देखो लास्ट ईयर का फाइनेंशियल जो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट था, दैट वाज मॉडिफाइड and that matter is still unresolved, so auditor will modify the current period auditor opinion, though that it was a misstatement where the matter was pertaining to the prior period, but वो अभी भी तो unresolved है ना, तो auditor will modify the current period financial statements, the current period audit report, and in the basis of modified opinion section, basis of whatever opinion auditor will give, he will mention as to what is the effect or possible effect of such misstatement on the current period. वो mention करेगा ना, देखा नहीं, मतलब अभी I'll tell you, if you remember we told you कि quantification करना है ना, तो he will mention the effect or the possible effect, and he will specifically mention that since the last year matter was unresolved, that is why current year में modification आया है। सिंपल है, लॉजिकली समझो, बहुत सिंपल आएगा। देखो second case, where the auditor obtains sufficient appropriate audit evidence that material misstatement exists in prior period financial statement, prior period में financial statement में material misstatement है, prove हो गया, sufficient appropriate audit evidence है, लेकिन prior period financial statement तो unmodified था, और financial statements भी rectify नहीं किया as per FRF। तो basically क्या है, last year audit report में unmodified opinion था, ठीक है। However, this year auditor obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence that pakka say there is a material misstatement in prior period financial statement, and the same has not been rectified in the financial statement. Auditor will again modify the current period auditor's opinion, है ना, because last year unmodified दे दिया, mistake था जो अभी तक ठीक नहीं किया है, तो modify current period auditor's opinion. Clear? Third, where the prior period financial statements were not audited, we have already done, other matter paragraph में mention कर दो that last year audit was not done, ठीक है, but see, this will not relieve the auditor from obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence that whether the prior period balance contain any misstatement that could materially affect the current period financial statement. तो देखो other matter paragraph में तो आप mention कर दो for a better understanding of the users with respect to what auditor's responsibility and audit report, है ना, but auditor आप expert हो, आप opinion दे रहे हो, तो it will not relieve you as an auditor from obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the opening balances do not contain misstatement that materially affect the current period financial statement। उसको चेक करने के लिए तो आपको audit procedures करने ही पड़ेंगे। क्लियर? तो हमने क्या बोला, जहां कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स हैं, वो कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स हमें क्यों दिया होता है, एज पर द एप्लीकेबल एफआरएफ, टू बी रेड ओनली इन रिलेशन टू करंट पीरियड। इसका इतना ही सिग्निफिकेंस होता है, ठीक है। तो थंब रूल इज व्हाट, ऑडिटर विल रिपोर्ट ऑन द करंट पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, एक्सेप्ट अगर ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन आ जाती है, तो ऑडिटर आंख बंद थोड़ी ना कर लेगा कि मेरे को नहीं पता, मैं नहीं रिपोर्ट कर रहा, तो ऑडिटर को करना पड़ेगा। व्हाट आर दीस थ्री सिचुएशंस, दैट इफ द प्रायर पीरियड ऑडिट रिपोर्ट वाज मॉडिफाइड, मैटर स्टिल अनरिजॉल्व्ड है, इस साल की भी ओपिनियन मॉडिफाई कर दो, मैनेजमेंट मान ही नहीं रहा है ना, तो व्हाट इज द वेपन अवेलेबल, ठीक है मैं मॉडिफाई कर देता हूँ, बेसिस ऑफ ओपिनियन में सब मेंशन कर दो। इफ लास्ट ईयर की opinion was unmodified, but auditor has obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence कि भाई material misstatement है and the same has not been dealt in the financial statement also, again modify कर दो. Basically देखो क्या है, last year modify हुआ, management is not agreeing, management को कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता कि लास्ट ईयर भी मॉडिफाई हो गया, अभी तक उन्होंने मैटर अनरिजॉल्व रखा हुआ है, तो दोबारा से फिर मैं मॉडिफाई करूंगा, देयर इज नो अदर ऑप्शन लेफ्ट, है ना. सेम वे हियर आल्सो. एंड प्रायर पीरियड नॉट ऑडिटेड, तो ओएम पैराग्राफ में मेंशन कर दो, एंड इट विल नॉट रिलीव ऑडिटर फ्रॉम obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Clear? तो ये था रिपोर्टिंग विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स. कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स कैसे था, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स दिए हैं और ये इसका पर्पस क्या है कि इसको इनके रिलेशन में ही रीड करो. ठीक है, क्लियर. Now we have seen that comparative information is of two types, corresponding figures and your what. तो comparative information हमने पढ़ लिया, audit procedures common जो है वो भी पढ़ लिए, corresponding figures की reporting पढ़ ली. Now we are studying what, comparative financial statements. ठीक है, comparative financial statements. ठीक है, अब देखो, let's say there is a merger or acquisition taking place. ठीक है, so there may be a requirement by SEBI that with respect to the last 5 years including this year, bring me the financial statements, comparative financial statement. So what will company ask the auditor, that auditor do one thing with respect to the financial statements of the last 5 years, please give us the audited financial statements, है ना. तो standalone basis पे the financial statement of a particular year are important ना, उसको comparison के लिए तो दिया ही हुआ है, but auditor needs to consider that also ना. So what is the thumb rule? So the thumb rule with respect to comparative financial statement is auditor's opinion will refer to each period. With respect to all the 5 years, auditor will see कि सब ठीक है नहीं, and auditor will give his opinion. ठीक है, अभी रुको समझ आएगा, पहले देखते हैं comparative financial statements क्या होती हैं. So comparative financial statement are the comparative information होता, तो comparative information है where amounts and other disclosure for the prior period are included for comparison with financial statement of current period, and if audited are referred to in the auditor's report. उसको audit कर रहे हो, देखो यहाँ सेबी ने बोला ना कि audit करो last 5 years की, तो it will be mentioned in the auditor's report. The level of information included in those comparative financial statement is comparable with that of the financial statement of the current period. अगर वहां का बैलेंस शीट, पीएनएल, नोट्स टू अकाउंट सब कुछ दिया है, तो इस सारे ईयर्स का all the information will come, है ना. तो it is totally comparable. Corresponding figures में तो आप सिर्फ corresponding figures बैलेंस शीट में दे रहे हो ना, है ना, let's say पीएनएल में दे रहे हो ना, but it will come the comparative financial statement as such, it will contain all the comparative financial statement of all 5 years. ठीक है. Now what is the reporting responsibility of the auditor? So the thumb rule is what, that the auditor needs to give an opinion with respect to each period, with respect to each and every period. ठीक है. So there are again 3 points यहाँ पर भी जो auditor को देखना है, तो each period के लिए देखना है. तो 5 आपके पास comparative information है 5 सालों का. ठीक है, सेबी को आप लोग को audited financial statement देना है with respect to each year. Now, if auditor's opinion on prior period is different from previously expressed opinion, अब यहाँ पर हम 2021 में हैं और ये पिछले सालों के आपके financials हैं. ठीक है, 16, ठीक है, ठीक है. Now let's say यहाँ पर it was an unmodified opinion, जो last year auditor ने दिया, it was an unmodified opinion. And now when you are auditing the financial statement, when you are referring to it in your audit opinion, you find that your opinion is different from what has been previously expressed. आपको लगता है modified होना चाहिए. So what will auditor do? Auditor will disclose the substantial reason. देखो कोई important reason ही होगा ना, जो इतना बड़ा difference आ गया है, for difference of opinion in the other matter paragraph in terms of SA 706. समझ आया? Other matter paragraph में SA 706 में लिखेंगे. ठीक है, अपना ओपिनियन तो दे ही देंगे, बट अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ में मेंशन कर देंगे भाई लास्ट ईयर में अनमॉडिफाइड था, मेरा मॉडिफाइड है. ठीक है. नाउ If the prior period financial statement were audited by predecessor auditor, if they were audited by predecessor auditor, तो उसमें क्या करना है ऑडिटर को? ध्यान से सुनना, लॉजिकली सुनना, सब समझ आएगा. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो करंट ईयर है ना, उस पे तो अपना ओपिनियन देना ही है आपको, ठीक है. फर्दर अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ में मेंशन कर दो that prior period financial statement were audited by predecessor auditor. He has given such type of opinion, and in case of modified, this is the reason, and this is the date of his audit report. Simple, simple. Now, where the predecessor auditor has given an unmodified opinion, but auditor concludes कि भाई misstatement है, but predecessor auditor ने तो unmodified opinion दिया है, तो अब हम क्या बोलेंगे? We will communicate with those charged with governance. अगर देखो मैंने ही ऑडिट रिपोर्ट दिया होता तो ऐसे 560 कंसीडर कर लेते ना subsequent events, but here it has been given by predecessor auditor, है ना, unmodified opinion, whereby auditor concludes, ये जो अभी वाला ऑडिटर है, who is giving a report on all the 5 years, he concludes that a material misstatement exists. तो पहले तो we will communicate with those charged with governance, and we will ask those charged with governance, we will request those charged with governance that please inform the predecessor auditor, because predecessor auditor के लिए तो आपको subsequent event हो गया ना, कि predecessor auditor के report के बाद कुछ हुआ है ना, तो please उसको inform कर दो. And if the prior period financial statement amend हो जाते हैं and predecessor auditor भी अपना report amend कर देता है, then auditor will not report anything, he will report on the current period financial statement only, है ना. फिर अदर मैटर वगैरह में कुछ नहीं मेंशन करेगा ना, फिर थोड़ा लिखेगा कि इसमें मिसस्टेटमेंट था, बिकॉज वो तो सब ठीक हो गया, राइट, क्लियर. And if the prior period financial statement were not audited, again state that fact in the other matter paragraph, but it will not relieve auditor to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about opening balances containing misstatement affecting the current period financial statement. Same है ये तो corresponding figures की तरह. तो I'll repeat it, है ना, थोड़ा सा speed fast हो गया, but I'll repeat it, ठीक है. So what is this matter? Basically, we are talking about comparative financial statements, whereby I gave you example of what mergers and acquisitions, जहां 5 साल की reports अगर auditor को audit करके देने हैं, ठीक है. So पहली बात तो auditor shall refer to each period, ठीक है. Auditor's opinion अगर prior period पे different है previously expressed से, सब्सटैंशियल रीजन को अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ में डिस्क्लोज कर दो, और जो आपको ओपिनियन आप समझ आती है उसको कंसीडर करके आप मेंशन कर दो. अगर प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर ने किया तो आप तो करंट पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट का तो ऑडिट जैसे कर रहे हो वैसे करोगे. फर्दर इन दी अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ यू विल मेंशन कि प्रायर पीरियड का प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर ने किया था, व्हाट वाज द टाइप ऑफ ओपिनियन, व्हाट वाज द मॉडिफिकेशन, द रीजंस एंड द डेट ऑफ रिपोर्ट. प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर का रिपोर्ट अनमॉडिफाइड था, बट आपके पास कुछ ऐसा सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस है कि मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट है, देन कम्युनिकेट टू दोस चार्ज्ड विद गवर्नेंस एंड रिक्वेस्ट देम टू इन्फॉर्म द प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर. प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर को इन्फॉर्म कर दिया और उसने अपना रिपोर्ट भी ठीक कर दिया, मैनेजमेंट ने भी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट अमेंड कर दिए, देन ऑडिटर नीड टू रिपोर्ट ऑन द करंट पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स ओनली. इफ प्रायर पीरियड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स वर नॉट ऑडिटेड, state this in the other matter paragraph, but this will not relieve the auditor to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about the opening balances not containing misstatement which may affect the current period financial statement. वो तो आपको करना ही पड़ेगा. Why? Because you are giving an expert opinion, ठीक है. So रुको, अभी रुको, doubts अभी आपके लेंगे, but let us just quickly have a look at this essay from the module. It's already 8:29, but I will take you through the module. So what is the name of the essay? The number is essay 710, comparative information, corresponding figures and comparative financial statement. तो comparative information दो टाइप की होती है, corresponding and comparative financial statement. So it deals with the auditor's responsibility recording comparative information in an audit of financial statement. And when the financial statement predecessor auditor ने किया या नहीं हुआ audit, तो essay 510 में जाओ. Comparative information पे it can be of two types, corresponding and comparative, and it depends upon what the law and regulation या जो भी आपका applicable FRF है. So the thumb rule is what? For corresponding figures, the auditor's opinion on financial statement refer to the current period only, whereas comparative में it refers to each period. Objective क्या है? To obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to whether the comparative information is presented as per applicable FRF and to report in accordance with the reporting responsibility. So I told you reporting responsibility में difference है, आपका audit procedure same रहेंगे. Comparative information क्या होता है? Amounts disclosure in financial year in respect of one or more prior periods. Now what are the audit procedure? पहले तो you will see whether this is as per applicable FRF, and if yes, then whether appropriately classified or not. You will see properly brought forward है नहीं, accounting policies consistent है नहीं, changes हैं तो disclose किया है नहीं. Then if the auditor becomes aware of any possible material misstatement, है ना, he will perform what additional audit procedures and obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And अगर he was the auditor last year, ऐसे 560 को follow करेगा. 580 के अकॉर्डिंग रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन ले लो. विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एनी पीपीआई ऑब्टेन अ रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन. पीपीआई डिस्क्लोज वेयर इन द करंट ईयर पीएनएल. ठीक है. अब रिपोर्टिंग के लिए कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स क्या है? कोई कंपैरेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन है वेयर डिस्क्लोजर्स या आपका अदर डिस्क्लोजर और अमाउंट जो भी आपने शो किया है इंटेंडेड ओनली टू बी रेड ओनली इन रिलेशन टू अमाउंट्स एंड डिस्क्लोजर्स ऑफ करंट पीरियड. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पर the auditor will refer only to current period, but in the following circumstances आपको corresponding figures पे भी report देनी पड़ेगी. कैसे? If auditors report on prior period जो previously issued था was any modified opinion और जो matter है that is still unresolved. देखो बहुत logical है ना, management मान ही नहीं रहा है तो इस साल का भी opinion हम modify कर देते हैं, basis of modification में बता देंगे. That refers to what is the effect on the current period figures, and here he will explain as to unresolved matter है कौन सा matter है वो. ठीक है. Further it says that if auditor obtains a material misstatement that exists in the prior period financial statement and last year जो opinion था वो कैसा था? Unmodified था, है ना. So here and further there the financial statement have not been corrected as per the applicable FRF, again auditor will modify the opinion. ठीक है. And the last point says if it is not audited, ये तो same है ना दोनों में, तो other matter paragraph में mention कर दो, but it will not relieve the auditor of requirement to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that opening balances do not contain misstatement that affect the current period's financial statement. वो तो आपको check करना ही पड़ेगा. ठीक है. Comparative financial statements क्या होती है? Where it is given for comparison with the financial statement of current year, and if audited are referred in the auditor's opinion, and the level of information included in those financial statement is comparable with that of the current period. And what is the thumb rule? The auditor's opinion refer to each period. When comparative financial statements are presented, the auditor opinion shall refer to each period for which financial statements are presented and on which audit opinion is expressed. ठीक है. When so there are again 3 points. ठीक है. So when reporting on prior period financial statement in connection with current period report, so it is saying that if the opinion that the auditor is giving is different from previously expressed opinion, then mention the reason, the substantive reason in the other matter paragraph in terms of SA 706. If the audit was done by a predecessor auditor, है ना, तो पहले तो आप अपना करंट पीरियड का ऑडिट तो कर लो एंड अदर मैटर में बता दो कि प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर ने किया था, ये वाला ओपिनियन दिया था, मॉडिफिकेशन का ये रीजन था, ये डेट था. नाउ इफ प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर ने तो अनमॉडिफाइड ओपिनियन दिया है बट ऑडिटर कंक्लूड्स की मिसस्टेटमेंट है. ठीक है. तो सबसे पहले दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस को बताएंगे, मैनेजमेंट को बताएंगे कि प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर को इन्फॉर्म कर दो. अगर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स ही अमेंड हो जाते हैं एंड प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर भी अपना न्यू ऑडिट रिपोर्ट दे देता है, then the auditor shall report only on the current period. Predecessor वाले prior period में नहीं आएगा. If prior period were not audited, again other matter, but it will not relieve the auditor. ठीक है. So with this we have covered SA 710 and in fact all the essays of chapter number 11 and entire chapter 11. So before I forget, student, I am giving you a homework. We will now meet for chapter number 12. ठीक है. So before, in that session, I'll ask you a question. In chapter number 10, I have referred to other matter paragraph when we were doing SA 299 and SA 600. I want all of you to see or to remember as to when is such communication required. 299 में है या 600 में है या दोनों में है. अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ में, ठीक है। अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ बहुत अच्छे से समझ आएगा फिर आपको, ठीक है। So with this we have finished the entire chapter. In case of any doubt, please send in your replies. Amended report तो ये उसका है ना हिरन, of the predecessor auditor, ठीक है। अनमॉडिफाइड ओपिनियन दिया था प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर ने, एंड यू फाइंड की मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट है, तो दोस्त चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस को बताओ एंड रिक्वेस्ट देम दैट प्लीज इन्फॉर्म प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर। Management, those charges governance as well as predecessor auditor agrees to amend the financial statement and audit report respectively. तो ठीक है ना फिर, ठीक है। So quickly send in your replies. Hiral, is it clear? So one audit report will be given, Nilabjo, ठीक है। So students, I want your replies. ये जो भी है clear है या नहीं, whatever we had discussed, and many of you are saying that ma'am please इसको थोड़ा just give us time to take the screenshot of the summaries. So let me just next 5 minutes. And students, since the time is not permitting, I will not be able to discuss the questions, but I have uploaded the answers as well as the question in the next session, which is for audit for banks. You can ask me all the queries, okay? And Nilabjo, your query of chapter number 10 I'll take up in the next session. So this is with respect to students key audit matter. For all those who want to take the screenshot can do that. Summary of the key audit matter, ठीक है। ठीक है स्टूडेंट्स, की ऑडिट मैटर है ना, या आप बाद में वीडियो को पॉज कर सकते हैं। आई जस्ट शो इट टू यू। ये एम्फेसिस ऑफ मैटर पैराग्राफ का है। Later on you can just pause your video and you can take notes, ठीक है। And this is with reference to your comparative financial information. So though I have written a lot here, but I hope it will not lead to any confusion. So this is comparative financial information. So students, send in your replies. समझ आया? हाँ सेम है हीरल, it is same, ठीक है। So students, I definitely need your replies whether you have understood or not, because I have tried my level best to simplify all the essays, the entire audit report chapter, starting from essay 700, 705, 701, 706 and 710. So I definitely need your replies and see you soon for the next session, which is with respect to bank audits, audit of banks, ठीक है। So thank you for being a patient listener. Please go through the entire module with illustrations, case studies, everything, and the questions that I have uploaded. Answers are also uploaded. In case of any doubt, you can always ask your queries, and next session we will discuss the queries. We will take up all the queries, ठीक है। But please send in your replies. समझ आया या नहीं? वैसे तो आ जाना चाहिए, but just few of your replies are always motivating, ठीक है। So thank you and have a good night.